jack it up. A very warm welcome, well, wet welcome, I might say, this afternoon to Rye House Kart Raceway for continuing coverage and the inevitable conclusion of the 2019 Rye House Kart Raceway London Cup here on the 13th of October 2019. And a big thank you to Screed Force Limited, who have sponsored the event. And joining me for the afternoon, fresh from his antics at Buckmore Park alongside Ben Topless yesterday afternoon with the spirit of the F100s yesterday, Anthony Jordan joins me in the commentary box. Anthony, welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's good to be here at Rye House again. Last time here was for a 4-hour Pro Kart event I did on my lonesome.
Yes, which I actually, there was a mad dash to get cover, and I remember that because I was the one that spoke to you on the phone and saying, look, I've got a problem. I'm on my way to Kart Masters, which has also been on Alpha Live this year, one of the multiple events that have been screening. And at the moment, if you're wanting to have a switch between events, you can also tune into Alpha Live on the YouTube channel and on their Facebook page, as the 750 Motor Club is currently underway in Norfolk at Snetterton. So yeah, that was a very interesting conversation. I said, look, can you do it? And you said, I'm in Wales, but I'm sure I can make it, and sure you did. And
yes, it went all swimmingly well. Yes, it did.
Yeah,
so,
unlike the conditions that the drivers have had to contend with this weekend, predominantly today, but there is a bit more buffeting because the wind has well and truly blowing a bit of a slight gale. But obviously our thoughts, first of all, have to go to the Japanese population that have suffered this tragedy with Typhoon Hagibis quite recently, as the Suzuka Grand Prix got underway this morning, despite a change in the timetable through the FIA and Formula One. But our thoughts are mainly out for them today, because there's a lot of people who are a lot less fortunate than us, and obviously the conditions were so bad that there was quite a big square meter coverage in part of rural Japan that got affected quite significantly. But needless to say, I haven't watched the Japanese Grand Prix. Please do not send any spoilers in for us to at social, because I don't know what has happened.
That's going to be tough for me. I've watched it.
Well, don't tell me anything, you blighter. You. But we are in the final stages of the preliminary qualification for the A finals for the 2019 London Cup. We've got another 3 more races to run before we go into the business end. And I was mentioning earlier on the commentary when we started the broadcast at around about 20 past 8 this morning that Ash Sutton, 2017, when it was known as the Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship, but is now the Quick Fit Touring Car Championship, is battling tooth and nail with 29 other drivers around Brands Hatch Grand Prix this weekend in his Subaru Levorg. So Ash is a previous winner of this. We've also had Jesse Phillips, Joseph Katsantonis, previous Bambino winners. One guy who's also won this event previously is there are no... Could we please ask that all drivers for Senior Rotax Group A Heat 3, we have no one on the grid. I know that the lunch break, so we are seeing some starting to make their way on there at the moment. So there will be some paddock announcements from myself on the main PA here at Rye House.
New clerk of the course there. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him.
Yes, I don't think you really want to get on the bad side of Stegosaurus there, Anthony, in any way, shape or form. But we've had some fantastic action. We've seen some great overtakes around the outside. We've had 3 abreast at points. We've had also a fair amount of incidents, which, you know, obviously it's part of racing. They do say that rubbing's racing, but of course karting's a non-contact sport. And I saw that there were, you know, when I was listening to, well, watching the feed from you and Ben Topless yesterday at Buckmore Park, there were quite a few incidents and accidents, let's say, shall we?
Yeah, that definitely can be said for sure. It's yeah, obviously when you're racing out there, you know, one, especially when it got dark as well. The rain was biblical at the track yesterday, and it was playing havoc with visors fogging up and everything like that. It was really, really tough conditions. So I'm amazed that there was no more than what we actually saw in terms of incidents and accidents out on circuit.
That's very, very true. I mean, the skies have sort of cleared a bit. The sunshine is trying to break through what latent grey clouds we have circling the 950-metre circuit here at Rye House. Inaugurated back in 1961, so in just under 2 years' time, it celebrates its 50th anniversary. A lot of history steeped here. It was prominently featured in the 1964 movie Go, Kart, Go with Dennis Waterman, formerly of the Sweeney, and also Minder, amongst other things, was in that movie. I wonder if he might need a bit of training to come back here, if he can handle that triumph that he has in in one of the series he normally frequents with the old cold cases with the police, you know, the open cases that get open with the police from years gone by, and he's always in his triumph, his old Dennis.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you know about that, because I haven't got a clue what you're on about. I've not seen any of those.
Yeah.
I've not seen Minder, I've not seen... What was the other one?
The Sweeney.
I've not watched the Sweeney,
Oh,
no.
well, for those that probably understand it from my perspective, my dad will definitely know about that, as will my mum, bless him. But we're just awaiting for the remainder of the grid to make their way onto the dummy grid. We've got some prizes for the top three in the London Cup this year, courtesy of Milton Keynes facility 360 Performance, who cater for all types of budgets, whether it's karting, sports cars, single-seaters. We've even got a US Formula 4 powered by Honda driver here in the form of Ollie Wilkinson. Now, have you been on that sim yet?
I have not been on
Okay,
that sim.
there is a lap time to beat, and if you beat said lap time set by Ollie himself, who is with us today, you get £500 worth of vouchers to go to 360 Performance and use their state-of-the-art facility. How's that?
Nice. That is, I have to say, I have been there already once before 360, and it is very good. I tested a Ginetta GT5 for an upcoming chance of getting a seat within the championship, and unfortunately, after I saw how much the racing would cost per weekend, I went, I'm going to stick to sim racing, I think.
I think you, first of all, had kittens and then promptly reassessed your situation.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was the correct way of putting it, yeah.
To put it politely, let's be completely truthful. But the prizes on offer that 360 Performance are putting in the prizes. They'll get their trophies and everything today here at the end of the race weekend. For the champion in each of the 5 categories, a 3-hour sim training and tuition session in Milton Keynes. For the vice champion, it's 2 hours, and for third, final place on the rostrum, it's just a single hour. But it's worth a lot of money, because not everybody has the money to go racing in the real sense, as Mr. Jordan has just put his hand up, which we just discussed. So you didn't need to do that, mate.
We know.
We know. We definitely know, don't we? Don't we, dear?
Oh, yes.
But you know, you see the transition, and this is quite a point I wanted to briefly talk to you about, because you see the correlation between sim and esports, and moving into real time. You know, let's have a look at GT Academy winners. Miguel Faisca from Portugal, Jan Mardenborough racing in Super GT with Nismo. You've then got Igor Fraga, who won the FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships World Final in Monte Carlo last year. He's running in Formula Regional with Dan Ticktum and Sophia Flörsch, amongst others, quite recently. That championship is promoted by WSK, who also have a hand in karting. But from your aspect, because obviously I know that you've been out on circuit, you've also done a lot of sim racing as well, and you're doing a few streams these days.
Trying to,
which isn't, it never always goes to plan with technology these days, does it?
It does, especially when I'm around it. It always seems to break.
Yeah, but the correlation between the two is quite vivid, because a lot of drivers now, you know, when Formula One went testing in the 90s and the early 2000s, is where we've got the grid being set up as we speak, and they'll be going out very shortly for our last 3 penultimate qualifying heats, that the transfer is very real, isn't it?
Oh, it is, definitely. And when you see it, just in terms of reaction time, skill, and everything that you can find through that, race etiquette as well is something you can definitely learn through that form of sim racing. And the only thing that you don't get is just that fear factor. You know, you could be willing to go flat up at, let's say, Eau Rouge at Spa, Francorchamps, but, you know, would you do that in real life? I know I would, personally, but...
Well, if your name's Mark Webber and you send it around the outside of Fernando Alonso, that's got it in my book for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are about to get underway with the final barrage. It's the last hurrah before the final battles for the 2019 Rye House London Cup here in Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire, just half an hour's drive away from the hometown of 5-time Formula One world champion, Mercedes-AMG's very own Lewis Hamilton. So, Senior Rotax Group A, Heat 3, penultimate one of this group. So, on pole position, it looks, well, let's get things started, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? So before I go through the grid, Dylan Santos, no, it's not Wales. Yeah, Wales. if that's to do with Anthony and my impromptu conversation earlier on, yes, it was Wales, but we're not in Wales. It feels like Wales with the amount of rain that's hit the track. But we've got a grid, and it is as follows. Liam Ferguson will be on pole position. Alongside will be the 11 of Alfie Haralambus. On row 2, it's Sean Berry and George Whitbread. Hayden Cater and Thomas Starrar will start on row 3, ahead of Tom Thompson and Will Keith. Pete Newman, Sam Gumbrell rounds out the top 10, ahead of Jack Richards, Lewis Beret, Joe Havisham, Chris Calava, Tamsin Owen and Sean Adlington. 8 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap. They go into the dual file formation. Then the revs on the Rotax engines roar into life. Do we go lights out? We do. Go green into the stadium for the first time. And Haralambus trying to keep on the outside line there. Hayden Cater a bit stuck in the middle, slipping a bit further down outside of the top 5, probably towards around 8th position as they go through Regis to the infield hairpin. So Ferguson gets the lead initially as there's been a bit of a spinner. That's the 24 there, and that is Chris Calava. It's been a calamity for him so far this weekend as Hayden Cater really getting stuck in, and that's right behind, looks to be George Whitbread in the 23 as they power down the back straight into pylon for the first time. Still a lot of standing water here though, Anthony.
Lots of standing water out there, and I say a massive shame to Chris out there. Those curbs on the inside here at Rye House can be quite harsh, and you can easily bottom out the kart. But like you say, yeah, lots of standing water. The spray must be playing havoc again with the drivers as they're so bunched up as they go into the stadium again for the second time now. But again, fantastic circuit here at Rye House, but it dries quickly though. It dries quickly.
It does, and with the fact that we've now got dry weather conditions, the circuit is still very greasy as Ferguson and Haralambus and all field their way through into the infield hairpin for the second time of asking here. As the timer fast ticking away, we've got about 6 minutes, 55 seconds plus an additional lap. Hayden Cater ran in about 6th position at the moment, fending off the number 23 of George Whitbread. Well, it might be actually Will Keith, who's currently in 7th position. Thomas Starrar has actually made a move up to 4th place at the moment as they tentatively make their way through Paddock, which is the final corner. Obviously, Bucknell Park also has a corner called Paddock, so sometimes some people say to me, how do you remember the names of these corners? And I said, well, I've been commentating here at Rye House since 2017 as the battle for 2nd and 3rd between Haralambus and Berry resumes like it did last time out. So it's going to be interesting to see over the next 6 minutes and 10 seconds how the race proceeds and who's going to make the further positional gains as Chris Calava, unfortunately due to that calamity of a spin, drops him down to stone dead last.
Well, you would think that Haralambus and Berry would actually start working together at this point because the gap between them and the leader Ferguson at the moment is starting to open up. So you would think they're going to start working together, push each other forward and not try battle each other. And at the moment, that is what we're seeing at the moment.
Definitely the case, and we found it previously in the penultimate heats that Ferguson was just cantering away at a good rate of knots, and he's already 1.281 seconds ahead of Alfie Haralambus, who's got Sean Berry breathing down in the back of his race overalls, despite the fact they might still be quite literally saturated with wet weather from earlier on today as Cater comes through, followed by Will Keith. Sam Gumbrell has got his way past Pete Newman for 8th position. As the battle for... Oh, bit sideways there by Sean Berry. Too eager on the throttle there, I must admit.
Yeah, getting a little bit scrappy there again. Berry looking to the inside again, just trying to squirt on that power. Just not managing to get it done this time around. And again, all this time, that gap's opening up. 1.281 seconds last time. Crosses the line. Gap slightly goes up. It's a new PB as well from...
Ferguson, and that's gone to 2.416 seconds. He's put in a sub 46. That's a 45.955 as Berry again sizing up Haralambus, trying to go through the inside of the second half of the stadium. And it is, I think, probably in terms of karting circuits, the most tightening turn 1 I think I've ever commentated on, as Berry goes up the inside for Haralambus for 2nd. Haralambus just points it straight and true, nails the throttle, and now says to Berry, come on, mate, work with me. They've got just over half of this race remaining, plus an additional lap left on the clock to go, 4 minutes and 30. So at the moment, Ferguson, Haralambus, Berry, Starrar, Whitbread, Cater, Keith, Gumbrell, Newman, Richards, Thompson, Havisham, Tamsin Owen and Chris Calava. So we've got 14 out of the 16 that were on the grid. Looks like Lewis Beret is a no-show on this one. Pete Newman now receives the meatball flag. So the 61 is now going to have to park it within 3 laps.
Not sure what that was for, actually. Couldn't see any visible damage on any karts further back, so I'm not sure what the stewards have seen that we haven't.
Maybe whether a front bumper or rear bumper is a bit forlorn, or maybe even a chain guard has come off. So there's quite a lot that can happen as Hayden Cater now trying to close on George Whitbread for 5th position. Is run on the back bumper going through the apex into the approach into pylon. And this is where, that was a bit too much of curb grabbing there from Hayden Cater. The front end just sort of bounced up and down a bit and unsettled him slightly. Yeah,
these karts are quite fragile when you hit a curb that harsh, of course. You easily bend a track rod or anything like that. But the number 4 really working hard there to try and get past. Again, another mechanical flag going out to Pete Newman. I don't think he's come in yet.
No, is Cater going up the inside of Whitbread, but Whitbread responds accordingly and decides, right, I'm sorry, the door is being slammed and it's in your general direction. But Cater, I've known this guy for quite a few years now, and I know that when he wants to, he can do so. Whitbread goes wide. Now Cater does. Whitbread gets the cutback, and it's 3 abreast. Oh, that is deadly if ever I saw it, and that is a back marker, I think. Or is it?
I'm not too sure. It's the 40.
No, 40, that's Thomas Starrar. So that's really added a bit of spice to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and maybe even 5th, because Liam Ferguson, again, just shooting away like a cat, scalded on a hot tin roof, and he's managed to get away, and he's now up the road by about 4.7 seconds. Will Keith sets his personal best of a 46.555. Jack Richards goes behind Tom Thompson for 9th place, or for 10th place. Joe Havisham past Pete Newman. So the battle for 2nd really heating up now as everyone is starting to concertina. And again, Starrar up the inside of Haralambous. Can't get past the number 11 quite yet. 2 minutes and 3 to go on the clock as Cater really battling. And he's got past Whitbread. He's got past him. That's key now. He's up into P5. But the time's going to fast tick away. And he won't have a chance to get it up with the 3 in front of him.
Well, yeah, the time is fastly running out, I have to say. But if these guys keep scrapping at the pace that they are, these guys will catch up. So, and just look at the control that he's got going into the first corner. Runs slightly wide, does Cater, actually. That is probably going to allow Whitbread to come straight back at him, though.
Well, Whitbread was actually taking the same sort of corrective line there as well through Stadium. So it's a case of 1 of one and 500 of another. But it's just going to be a case of waiting and seeing and biding their time. Kirsty Rolling says, come on, Hayden. So Hayden's pulling away now from Whitbread in the battle for 5th place as Haralambous gets a little bit sloppy coming over the curbs there, but just bumps into it on the left-hand side, unsettles the back end of the cart as they file their way through the S's and ran into paddock. And again, Ferguson just pumping in the purple sectors and just putting in another fastest lap of the race. 60 on the clock to go. On to lap 10 we are now, and he's just put in a 45.691. Berry and Haralambous have set personal bests, but they're not on the pace that Liam Ferguson is clearly showing, and he's showing them a clean set of rear tyres. Well, even though they're wet.
Even though they're wet, yeah, I have to say. But a little mistake as well that we saw from Berry there through turn 1. You could see he went slightly wide. That allowed Haralambous to have a cheeky look down the inside as they went into the infield section. And you can see Haralambous there. His line through pylon corner, he's really hitting that curb, but he's sticking with him. Sticking with him.
Definitely. We've got 21 seconds on the clock remaining. Dylan Santos says, come on, Anthony. So obviously there's a lot of people that are just trying to chivvy up people from everywhere around the country. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to Alpha Live. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe as well whilst you're at it, as we now go to 0 on the clock. That's it. Time's up. So Ferguson at the moment is coming round the down the back straight, heading towards Pylon for the penultimate time. Air temperature 12 degrees Celsius. Track still declared wet, so it will be wet weather tyres all the way through. And there's an absolute squabble. And that looks to be Starrar has been compromised, and Cater now has a chance maybe to go for 4th. And he's clattered into him. And that is really that's really changed the dynamic of it. Starrar shoots past Whitbread back into 5th. That was a bit cheeky there. I think Hayden Cater might have just outbraked himself there going to Pylon.
Definitely looked like it. I mean, you just saw it if we can get a replay from that, but you could just see it just go straight to the back of him. A little bit later on the brakes, but as you can imagine, if anyone's going for a move, and there is a move from the number 11 of Haralambous on Berry.
That was pretty good. That's the battle for 2nd on the road as Cater went very sideways, and it's 2 by 2. Oh, clattered! Cater, I think, went off. He did. He's off at the infield hairpin. That's put him out of the top 5. Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd really raging on. However, the leader is about to come through the S's for the final time. It's Berry versus Haralambous for 2nd. It could be a run to the line. But in the meantime, Ferguson will take the win. He takes the checkered flag to really help cement his chances in the A final. Haralambous manages to get past Berry and keep in front of the 57 to take third place. Fourth goes to the 23 of George Whitbread. Starrar takes fifth. Will Keith takes sixth, ahead of Hayden Cater after a result of that coming together between him and George Whitbread for what was going to be effectively, I think, pretty much third or fourth on the road. Put him in seventh. Sam Grumbrell, Tom Thompson, Jack Richards round out the top 10 ahead of Joe Habishan in the number 2. Here comes Chris Galava back up into 12th position with Tamsin Owen and Pete Newman rounding out the 14 strong. So let's have a look at the replay here. Now, this is what happened between Starrar and Cater, and it allowed Whitbread to go up the inside, but even he could not avoid the number 4 going into pylon. And it is a case that when you try and push that envelope, you know, you're on the limits of adhesion. And some people will say, well, yeah, it's racing. But racing is meant to be, you know, close quarter. And there are going to be incidents where drivers will be caught out. And if he's been on a standing puddle, you know, standing water, it's really going to compromise his braking into... He might have measured it, but I might have just sent him a curveball and put him into left field. As well, he nearly went into the field on the grass, did Hayden Cater a bit earlier on with having the clash with George Whitbread.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, seeing it there, looking at the speed difference that you saw, you know, just out of there, it didn't look like he was actually fully going to make the corner. And, yeah, I mean, you just saw the classic concertina effect there as everyone piling in. And, yeah, after that incident, so massive shame.
Just a quick paddock announcement. Could the following vehicles please remove their cars from where they are located as they are blocking ambulance access? LL16 NZM and B11 LJB. Could you please move your vehicles elsewhere immediately as you are blocking the ambulance access? Thank you. So that's one of the last 2 of 3 dynamic heats in Senior Rotax. But next up, it's Senior Rotax Group B, Heat 3. And this will help us decide the grids for the A's and the B finals later on this afternoon. So, the second group of willing combatants in Senior Rotax. All engines are the 125cc displacement Rotax Max Evo engines. And what are they checking at? We're getting some really comedic names, aren't we? I'll just mention this one. What are they checking at pit entry? They're checking for front fairings as well. So we're getting a few laughs in the commentary box here. But we do have a grid here for the last of... I think Anthony was definitely silent with laughter. He was giggling like a little girl with something earlier on the live stream. Someone that put a user ID in. So the grid is as follows for Senior Rotax Heat 3 for Group B. Mike Spencer has had a perfect race day in the office so far. He will line up alongside the 97 of Aaron Drury. So these two have been at it all the way through the day. George Sanders and Philip Rawson will start on row number 2. Riley Stevenson and Simon Keeble, that's row 3. Tom Sullivan is on row 4 on the inside alongside the 53 of Kieran McCarney. Miles Nathaniel James, Lawrence Sverdloff, Tonino Machichi, Luke Collins, Mark Knowles, Harvey Hollix, Tom Richards, and Dean Wallace. That is the 18 strong. So this is quite customary. I've been commentating on Rotax throughout continental Europe over the past couple of seasons, and the starts here are very, very interesting because we had standing starts with the Honda Cadets and the Bambinos, but with Rotax, it is 2x2 rolling start formation, and I'll get a lot of that at the grand finals in just over a week's time. But here we go. Lights out. Are we racing? Yes. Good to go. And already Drury is being pressurised. Looks like Sanders is trying to go up the inside, possibly. Maybe even Rawson trying to get in there. Oh, Spencer's got a spin, and he's been clattered into by the 13. That's Lawrence Sverdloff. So already, I didn't really catch that. I mean, it was like 3 into 1 trying to go. And it didn't happen. And Mike Spencer got turfed out, spun, and then got clattered into by Lawrence Sverdloff. As now in the lead, it's going to be Aaron Drury in the 97 as they hurdle their way down into pylon for the first time. And there's a bit more bumper barging there. Oh, that's very cheeky. That looks to be the maybe the 87 of Riley Stevenson, or maybe even the 47 of Simon Keeble. That's Kieran McCarney that's got a contact warning as a result of that. I think with Lawrence Sverdlov, he was an unwilling participant when he clattered into the side of Mike Spencer just then. There's Mike now on the comeback trail, now in 11th position. He's got to reset or refocus. Drury sets the fastest lap of the race, and that is a 48.2. Yep, 48.2. Stevenson just behind as they're all trying to filter their way. And
the 64, sorry, Alex, the 64 there. Luke Collins got very out of shape.
Oh, we've got
there's another one off as well.
Now we've got one off on the inner part of the outfield hairpin. And they're trying to get the driver to start going. It was actually 3 abreast coming out of... that is Tom
46.
Sullivan, a former Rye House IKR Senior Rotax champion as well. He actually took the inaugural title back in 2017. His other half, Jodine, is here with us this weekend. Unfortunately, she's got a bad back, so can't race with us, and she is a pretty quick peddler, so we could have seen... Now, let's have a look at the start here. Okay, so Spencer gets the initial advantage. Looks like, I think it was Sanders trying to go up the inside.
Yeah, so you can see the 3 wide there as well.
So Rawson's gone cheekily up the inside of Spencer, turned him around. It spun him 360, and Sverdlov has nowhere to go.
No, nowhere to go there at all, and massive shame for Sverdlov. He's obviously a passenger in that. Could see it all unfolding in front of him and just couldn't react in time.
But Spencer still making hay whilst, well, I'm not going to say whilst the sun shines because it ain't shining and the wind's blowing a gale or blowing a hoolie out there. 5 minutes and 45 on the clock left to go at the minute. So, yeah, thank you very much to Tom Lawson. Yep, front fairing position. That is customary. It's an automatic 5-second penalty if you get that normally, and that is in continental Europe when it comes to Rotax. If they have a front fairing out of place, it's 5 seconds to your race time, and you can drop down from, like, say, 3rd position down to 17th if the field's really tightly compacted. But Aaron Drury now not having Mike Spencer, thanks to the courtesy of Philip Rawson turning him around on the Exeter Stadium, has given him an opportunity. But there is battling up and down the order. We've got George Sanders and Harvey Hollick. Harvey starting all the way back down at 14th position, and now as a result of that carambolage at Stadium on the very first lap, is closing on the background for Sanders, going through into the S's, now into paddock. They now hit the throttles down hard. And just behind them is Simon Keeble and now Mike Spencer as Hollick tries to go towards the inside line, goes a bit sideways. Or takes the tighter, neater line there. But still, as they're trying to apply the throttle, he gets through on Sanders on that particular occasion. But Sanders doesn't want to have anything of it and goes and recalcitrantly tries to go up the inside of him. And turn around there. That's for Simon Keeble there. And I think that Mike Spencer managed to avoid just in the nick of time. And he's...
Any contact there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It might have just been that it just concertinaed and 3 into 1 didn't go.
Almost getting air there, really, wasn't he, the 55?
I'm sorry, Harvey Hollick, you are not Michael Knight, and that is not Kit. I'm sorry. But, you know, he just literally vaulted over the first set of curbs going into the approach into pylon. We've got 4 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock, so we're just at the half-time distance of this race, which will help us to decide. And Aaron Drury is checking out at the moment, nearly 1.5 seconds ahead of Philip Rawson, Riley Stevenson, George Sanders, Harvey Hollick, Mike Spencer, rounding out the top 6 at the minute. Kieran McCarney just sets a personal best in the race. This is great, but a little bit of a cheeky nudge from behind.
He's just letting him know he's there.
He's doing like a Days of Thunder, like, remember me?
Yeah.
You know, but they do say that a little bit of rubbing is racing, but a bit too inadvertent, and if it just sort of hit a bit too hard, it's going to spin somebody out. And in these wet weather conditions, you cannot have your run compromised, especially with the finals coming up a little bit later on today as Riley Stevenson crosses the line in 3rd place. Still great battle between Sanders and Hollick. This is absolutely mouth-watering. Oh, bit wide from Sanders as Hollick goes a bit sideways coming out of Stadium there. So it's one goes through a puddle, one goes, oh, I'll put on the throttle. Oh, no, I won't. Just into the S correct. Lawrence Sverdlov, who is down in 13th position. The number 13 puts in his personal best, 47.234. 2 minutes 55 on the clock, plus an additional lap to go. And at the minute, Spencer is closing on the 2 in front. He's just taken nearly half a second out of Harvey Hollick on that last lap alone. Philip Rawson, in the meantime, has closed the gap to Aaron Drury. It's 9/10 of a second exactly, as Lawrence Sverdlov and it looks like Tonino Machici were just battling over 12th position, going through the outfield hairpin.
Yeah, definitely have to see, keep an eye on these guys all the way through, because as I say, those gaps slowing down, and the gap also has gone down again, half a second now from Rawson to Jury, so that gap is definitely closing up, and you can see the battle here on screen.
Yep, nearly 0.4 of a second, so he's decimated a gap, which was pretty much, that is effectively 1.4 seconds in 2 laps. He's decimated that by 2/3. And here is... no, the lead's changed. It's happened. Rawson's in the lead. He's got him. He got him on the infield hairpin, so must have closed up on the braking zone and got the move done before the back straightaway. So this is going to allow him to... you know what's really funny? I like it when you go to certain tracks and you find that some leaders will get away. And then there'll be the ones that like doing the chasing. And Aaron Jury, I can definitely see that he is one that, okay, I don't mind leading, but I'd rather be the one having someone in my crosshairs and going after them.
I have to say, I am that person. I don't like leading because it's petrifying. But yeah, if I'm behind someone and I get a bit of a red mist and I like to chase them down, yeah, I'm that sort of driver.
Well, there's been some changes in the lap time deltas. Riley Stevenson has closed in by nearly 0.8 on the duo battling over the lead. He's down to 2.9 seconds between him and Philip Rawson. Meanwhile, Sanders and Hollick both putting in their personal best, but Spencer is closing them down like a hungry wolf in the outback. You know, he's really chasing them down and he's seeing them squabble. And I know Mike, you know, for quite a time, and he just said, I'm just going to go out there and have some fun, and that's what he's doing. You know, he wants to win just like everybody else, but to close in, and he's lost out by just 1/10 on Harvey Hollick, who's actually going side by side on the Exeter Stadium. That was close, and he manages to get past George Sanders for what is 4th position, but Spencer is really in the proximity sensors of the pair, if they had parking distance sensors, as Sanders gets past Hollick again, and Spencer mugs the pair of them. Oh, that's brilliant, but he loses out on the traction coming out of that corner, but he knows now that he's got the measure of them, so it's Hollick, Sanders and Spencer. That's the battle for 4th on the road as we've got 20 seconds on the clock remaining. Leader at the moment, Rawson, crossing the line ahead of Drury. And they are half a second apart at the minute. Here's the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th place. So this will be the penultimate lap, as probably by the time he gets through Reggie's elbow, the timer will expire for Philip Rawson.
I think at this moment, with the battle that we're watching at the moment, Spencer is actually being quite clever. He's just seeing where he can make that move. He's letting these guys battle away as well, and there's a move down the inside. You can see the hand goes up, and that is going to allow now Spencer to get right past both of them almost. Well,
he has done on Hollick. Now he does it, and he's just let Harvey Hollick through. He's just said, look, go ahead of me. I think he's sizing up that last-minute attack. You can just see it from the gesticulation and the body language, because when someone doesn't speak, body language tells it all, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and I think the last move that he just pulled out there, you could see that I don't think he felt that was quite clean enough. So, yeah, I think letting the back parts instead of having a meeting with the stewards, I think is a good way of doing it.
Well, exactly, because there's no right of appeal in Right House IKR regulations. Once race control makes a decision, it stands, irrespective. So we're on to the last lap, and at the moment, Philip Rawson now coming through into the back straight for the final time on the blast down to Pylon, closely followed by Aaron Jury by about 0.9 of a second adrift. And they come through Pylon for the final time, through the Complex Nouvelle, and then through the S's, and then making their way through the right-hander, which is the final corner known as Paddock. And out of the final corner powers Philip Rawson to win the final senior Rotax qualifying heat, and drifts it stylishly across the line there, heading into stadium, ahead of Aaron Jury by 1.1 seconds. Riley Stevenson takes 3rd. Great fight back, I have to say. That's what I like. I always like an underdog. And Mike Spencer, when he got turned around by Philip Rawson in that race, got a wake-up call and thought, I'm going to have to fight for it. He fought his way back. He fought his way back to 4th and pipped Harvey Hollick for 5th, and for 4th ahead of Harvey Hollick, and who finished 5th, and George Sanders in 6th. Simon Keeble, Tom Richards, Miles, Nathaniel James, and Kieran McCarney ran out the top 10, all separated by just 17.7 seconds at the end of that race. Lawrence Sverdlov in 11th, ahead of Dean Wallace. Tom Sullivan would eventually finish 13th, ahead of Tonino Machichi and Luke Collins. So that concludes The senior Rotax qualification stages for the finals of the 2019 London Cup here at Rye House Kart Raceway, brought to you in association. Now, let's have a look at this battle again, Anthony. Just talk us through it a little bit.
Well, you can see here, now there's a move that he goes down for the inside for the 48. Now, that is just where he's lining up to see where these guys are vulnerable, if he can get through. You can see it there, and that was just, it was so finely tuned, that position there, because he's gone through both of them. And, of course, that could have ended really badly. He'd taken all three of them out, but luckily not so well. And you can see the three different racing lines. Here is, again, the 29 taking the checkered flag and a nice drift into turn one as well, as some really good kart control. I'd probably just stack it, I think.
Well, at least you're being completely honest with your insight.
I'm always
there,
honest.
So that is the penultimate preliminary heat. I keep on getting my P's mixed up when it comes to wording. So that is the last of the preliminary heats. We have one more to go before the final business end of the 2019 Rye House Kart Raceway London Cup, presented in association with Screedforce Limited. Next up, Rotax 177. Okay, just give us a breather. Give us a breather. I've been on the mic all day, you charlatan.
I feel great. I've just joined in.
Yeah, you're fresh as a bloomin' daisy, you are.
I know, I've had a nice chilled day, me. I've had lunch, breakfast, everything.
On a silver platter.
On a silver platter, yeah, we had a silver platter here at Rye
Did you have
House.
a waiter with one of those tablecloths around his
No, I
forearm?
just had James from Alpha Live he had to do.
Had to go with second best there, mate.
Yeah, I'd say probably fourth best. But
Well, we might have to agree to disagree on that one, but who knows? James, what's your verdict? Well, exactly.
Of course
you
you
weren't
didn't
listening.
listen.
You're paying attention with something else, aren't you? He's the
Yeah.
one that's helping with the stream, and as always. But we have one more preliminary heat to go, and we have Rotax 177s, the heavy hitters here. Always a good crowd to catch up with, and we've got quite a few drivers in this one, 22, and some are level on points, but there is one driver that is currently leading the way, which is Alfie Cockerel, two-time Rye House IKR champion in terms of Rotax 177. He won the inaugural title back in 2017. When he was actually a lot heftier than what he is now. He is a very, very sleek version of himself, the number 53 from Kartech, and he took the title this year. And actually, if I remember correctly, if Gary Parsons might not need to correct me on this one, I don't think he ran in the final round of the championship because he knew that the title was secured.
yeah, that's always a nice thing. And of course, you got to remember some championships they throw in a drop round as well, don't they, for you? So yeah, some teams they do it and they know that, oh well, I've done every single round. The last round, it's in winter time, it's going to rain. I think I might miss it.
I might want to keep my wetsuit dry for the moment. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll wait for next year. But there we go for the 3 days of summer. But yeah, no, as you can imagine, it's. Am I seeing dry patches on the track already?
There is some starting to emerge here at the circuit. We've had some comments coming in on. Thank you very much for Tom Lawson, who corroborated and confirmed what I said.
Excellent.
So we've got Harry Friel saying, "Go on, Alfie, you've got this." We've had a lot of love from Dylan Santos on YouTube.
I've got no idea who that is. I really don't.
No, he says, right, okay, I'm going to read one comment, which is, like, he's so cool, I want to be his friend.
I don't know who this person is.
Exactly, so I'm none the
I mean,
wiser.
I'm very sorry if I do know you, Dylan, but I don't recognise the
Dylan,
name. Oh, here.
We're not going yeah. Oh, well, he wants to meet up, mate.
Yeah, go for some drinks.
Yeah, there you go.
How about for drinks?
Are you based in Milton Keynes?
Well,
near to.
Oh, yeah, I live in Silverstone now.
God,
The lovely village. I wake up in the morning and I hear
home-
this. Yeah, the home of motorsport.
Home of British Motorsport, Silverstone. Right, okay, we have a grid here, and it is as follows. On pole position with 146 points so far is Alfie Cockerel. The number 22 of Ben Cowley will be alongside the 53 on the front row. Nathan Schaefer and Adam Sandler, that's 2 and 67, that's row 2. The 33 of Oliver Smith and the 3 of James Webb, that's row 3. Jim Rainbird, quite an appropriate surname for the weather that we've had. Jim, please don't do any rain dances.
I had the same yesterday. I had a driver with the last name Puddle, which was very appropriately named.
Ooh, we've got a few here. We've got Scott Klee and Nick Skelton and Andrea De Luca rounding out the top 10. Joe Hunt and Hugo Pereira, they round out row number 6 ahead of Aaron Timberlake, John Sol, Max Williams, Tim Darlow, Sylvanas Klimas, Richard Allison, Andrew Wilkins, Charlie Whaley, Damien Evans and Lee Morgan. That's according to there we go, the old Go On Dad. Now, it's
good support there.
That's very good. Very good indeed. So we have 8 minutes on the clock plus an additional lap. Is that doing in your ears, Anthony?
It was doing in my ears.
Someone is unscrewing a coffee cup, a thermos flask, but it's obviously for one of our cameramen, which will be Greg just over from us. So, do we go lights out? Yes, it's a clean start this time around, and Cockerel gets the initial advantage. It's about 4 abreast going through the bottom of the top 10, as there are some straggling for Greg. We've got a spinner already.
Spinner in the mid-pack, and that's a massive shame. Couldn't quite see who it was, though, but yeah, that's a massive shame, especially at the start.
And there's quite a few drivers making some inroads, and one of them is Hugo Pereira, who I think is in the bottom half of the top 10 so far. And we've got Max Williams in the 227. We've got some others, the 42 there. That includes, that's Aaron Timberlake, no relation to pop singer Justin, of course. But there's a lot of action up and down the field, all the way through the order. But Alfie Cockerel has got, right, that is Joe Hunt that is off the circuit. So the 66 already. And track limits warning, the first of the meeting thereof. That is for Nathan Chafer, who might have been one of those people that was actually embroiled in the carambolage again that we saw at Stadium.
Yeah, again, it's track limits on a circuit where, again, it's just white lines and a lot of tarmac runoff. It's very easy to get one of those, and yeah, it's the same all the way around the circuit, really, especially the exit of this second hairpin.
So it looks like Joe Hunt is no longer participating in this race, so unfortunately the 66 will be on the back foot for the Rotax 177 final, which will be the third of 5 this afternoon, the A finals thereof. A few more changes in terms of position. Scott Klee up to set the 3rd place. Alfie Cockerel sets the fastest lap on a 46.693. Ben Cowley in 2nd, and he's about 7/10 of a second adrift off of the 53 is the 22. Scott Klee, Oliver Smith, James Webb, Tim Darlow, John Sol, Hugo Pereira, Aaron Timberlake and Andrea De Luca round out the top 10, all separated by about 6.3 seconds. So still quite a lot of this race still to go. We're about to end the first quarter of it as Cockerel powers out of the outfield hairpin, and behind him is Cowley. Then we've got a very closely truncated, so to speak, 3rd, 4th and 5th position drivers in the form of Klee, Smith and Webb, as Webb really getting on close to the back bumper of Smith there in the that's actually the 16 of Scott Klee, so it looks like Oliver Smith has taken 3rd place from the 16. We'll get that confirmed very shortly. That is the case.
There it is, yeah. It's updated now on the timing screen. You can see there straight away that the front two pulling away. Like I say, a second between them, or just shy of a second between them, and then a 2-second gap between them and the next kart. So they are starting to break away slightly, aren't they?
They are indeed, and Oliver Smith now has a gap of around 1.1 seconds to make up exactly to Ben Cowley. Last lap he took over 2.5 tenths out of Ben Cowley on that last tour, and looks to be a little bit closer. He might end up pulling along with him, Oliver Smith and Scott Klee, as long as they don't start squabbling amongst themselves over 4th position. Yeah,
that could be the downfall of this, of course, because you know if they start falling back as well, that's going to be a massive shame for them. 5 minutes to go in the session. They'll cross the line. We'll see the new gaps update. There is a mechanical flag for Damien Evans as well, the 17. Again, that could be for anything in terms of the front nose as well, couldn't it?
Maybe if there was a coming together, but I mean, Damien Evans, in terms of the grid, was sitting in
last at the moment. Well, he's last at the moment, yeah.
He's last at the moment, so he would have been in 21st, actually. Aaron Timberlake has now got a contact warning, another one here, so Nathan Chafer.
Oh, that was a lunge and a half.
And it also meant someone span out. Now, who was the one? That might have been Andrea De Luca there. No, Aaron Timberlake's got a contact warning, so that could have been Andrea De Luca, I believe. Or no, that wasn't the case. Andrea De Luca's a little bit further back, so it's probably someone a bit further up the order, so that could have been maybe Tim Darlow. But we'll find out very shortly from race control when we get the contact warning flag being brandished, as we're about to hit the last half of the final preliminary race of the heat stages, as the number 17.
There you can see, back bumper.
There we go. Forlorn on one side, dragging on the right-hand side. So whether there's been contact. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. And that was a Daniel Ricciardo move that did not quite literally work. And the recipient on the end of that was John Soul in the 46.
Hashtag send it.
Hashtag lick the stamp as well, eh? But we've got a really good battle here. Now, this is between... oh, big standing water puddle there that someone just drove through, and that was James Webb in front of Scott Clee. So Webb really compromised himself there. He thought, I'll take a tighter line. Oh, hang on. I wasn't expecting that, was I?
No.
A big old standing water puddle, and all of a sudden, you know, it fogs up. The rain hits the visor. You've got to quickly wipe it away or try and drive through it and just... hope that when you plant the throttle that all four wheels are still on the tarmac, as it's a bit sideways for Ben Cowley in the braking zone onto the infield hairpin. So we've got just 180 seconds plus an additional lap of this final preliminary heat for the 177 Rotax division.
You can see there definitely is that more of a dry line forming out in the circuit. Of course, still tons of water, loads of standing water offline as well. But as the more and more these guys go around, and there's no rain in the sky, I can see this track. You know, if it starts drying out, the dry line, slicks can't be an option, can they? Or is it declared wet?
It depends really on the differential, because these drivers will normally run in the sort of like the 36, 37 second bracket around this circuit in dry weather conditions. So I don't think, you know, we're not at that crossover point yet. If we were like at 40, someone might decide to chance it. But at the minute,
we're still 6 seconds.
We're 6 seconds off it. I don't think, I can't really see with the amount of rainfall we had today that it's not really going to sort of, you know, it'll get better over time, and the tyres will come to them, but it's just a case of who's running on old rubber, who's going to save their brand new wet weather tyres for the finals a bit later on. It's still all to play for, but Alfie Cockerel continues to lead quite handsomely there as Max Williams in the 227 is battling away with, looks to be the
25.
That's Jim Rainbird, so that's around 11th position, I fear, as Adam Sadler a little bit further up the road in the 67.
We'll see when they next cross the line, because Jim Rainbird there's dropped a couple of positions in the 25. Yeah, the 67 and the 9 of Sadler and Whaley actually got in front of him. New personal best from them at 2.
So with just under a minute and a half to go, the top 10 as follows is Alfie Cockerel, Ben Cowley, Oliver Smith, James Webb, Scott Clee, Nathan Schaefer, Tim Darlow, Hugo Pereira, Andrea De Luca, and now the 67 of ASR's very own Adam Sadler. Funnily enough, that's his own race team, and he's been running people like Joe Hunt this weekend as well, so Joe will be on the back foot. Unfortunately didn't make it past lap 1, so real shame for the 66. Get on really, really well with that guy. A real sort of the earth character, but, you know, very much a hard and charging racer, like everybody out on the circuit at the moment. So 54 on the clock to go, and it's really kicking off between Andrea De Luca and Hugo Pereira over 8th position now, as that's a cheeky nip up the inside, Adam Sadler. And does he get past De Luca? He barges his way past, forces his way past. Side pod to front bumper contact there between the 67 and the 8 through Reg's elbow. And De Luca, I think, will want to... I think he'll have to try and get the move done cleanly. Oh, no! Sadler went into De Pereira, and all of a sudden De Luca gets collected.
That is a big shame, that is. And you could just see under braking, just clipped the back bumper and, yeah, sent him round. And here again, the 42 and the 46 getting side by side, and he's straight off the 46 there. Massive shame for Joe Soul.
Yeah, John Soul,
sorry.
Yeah, John Soul, real shame for that guy. But if we can get a replay, but we're going to come to a replay, hopefully, of that incident between Pereira, Sadler, and here we go. Straight away, missed the braking point, clattered into the back, and De Luca went, oh no, I can't avoid him. Bang, straight in.
Yeah, big shame for that one.
So we are on to pretty much the final lap of the race, and it's been comfortable, comfort personified for Alfie Cockerel, who very shortly will be crossing the start-finish line to put his chances. And here's the move here. Oh, a little bit of interlocking wheels and side pod contact there, and it just spun him out. It spun John Soul out. So we're now on to the last lap of the race. So Alfie Cockerel really is, he's coming through Reg's elbow at the moment. And now onto the infield hairpin for the final time from Kartech, the number 53, two-time Rye House IKR Rotax 177 Series champion. And he's done a really, really good display. Last time out, last lap out, we're on to lap number 12. Final lap of the race, he did a 45.818, fastest of anybody, and the only guy to go sub 46 seconds as he powers out of pylon through the S's for the final time, now into paddock, and I'm sure that Gary Parsons, his team boss, will be more than overjoyed as Alfie Cockerel puts himself, provisionally speaking, on pole position for the Rotax 177 Grand Finale for the 2019 London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. Ben Cowley, Oliver Smith, James Webb, Scott Clee ran out the top 5. Nathan Schaefer takes 6th at the flag and also puts in his personal best at the final lap of the race. Tim Darlow and Charlie Whaley ran out the top 8 ahead of it's not Adam Sadler, it's Jim Rainbird who gets back up into the top 10 ahead of Sadler. Pereira 11th, Max Williams in 12th, Aaron Timberlake in 13th ahead of Andrea De Luca, an unfortunate victim in that tangle with him and also Adam Sadler. Zilvanas Klimas takes 15th, Andrew Wilkins, Richard Allison, Nick Skelton, John Soule and Damien Evans. Well, John Soule parked up on lap 10, so obviously that contact put him out of the race. And Damien Evans and Joe Hunt, respectively, finished on lap 5 and lap 1, their races respectively. And that concludes the preliminary stages of the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. Next up is the first of 2 B finals, and it will be our youngest competitors, the Bambino Comas, coming up shortly here in Hoddesdon. We come to the business end of the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. M-Tech Garage, someone who knows very, very well Mr. Alfie Cockerel, says, well done, Alfie. Yep, that puts him in the hot seat for the potential title. But we have a B final for the Bambinos. The top 4 from this, Anthony, will qualify for the A finals. The B finals for both Bambino Coma and Senior Rotax will be 8 minutes in duration. And then we have about an hour's worth of glorious racing to take us through to decide our 2019 London Cup champions. Just for those watching on the...
As Dylan said, another...
He keeps on sending you messages, mate. I don't know why, but hey-ho.
There we go. But I've clearly got a fan out there.
You definitely have a fan.
Not a fanboy, just an enthusiast.
Okay, since you put it like that way, that's absolutely fine.
There we go. Bambino's lining up on the grid there. Of course, the standing starts for these guys, isn't it?
It is indeed. So they will go... effectively, we have the following grid. Albert Friend will be on pole position ahead of the number 9 of Real Licata. Alfie Mew in the number 32 will have Felix Hill in the very multicoloured number 16 on row 2. Kellyan Russell, Harper Das and Connor Winfield. So the grid has been cleared. 8 minutes plus an additional lap. Top 4 automatically qualify. These results all classed are provisional when we call them. And we're lights out for the first of 2 B finals. And Alfie Mew gets very aggressive to try and get Felix Hill out of the way, and does so very, very unceremoniously there, I might add. But at the front, it is Albert Friend leading from Rio Licata. And then also Alfie Mew, Ellie Hill, obviously related to Felix, saying, "Come on, Felix." I'm sure that you definitely want Felix to do very well, as we've got a change for the lead, and Licata has got past Friend for position and makes the move before the exit of the infield hairpin, as they all seem to take round about the same sort of line as coming out of the outfield hairpin as they go through into pylon for the first time of asking.
Yeah, very small karts these, aren't they? These the Bambinos. Just seeing the
Oh,
size
we've had a
difference.
spinner already, and that is possibly
The 95.
That is Harpadas, unfortunately. So it hasn't been an easy one for him this weekend, the youngster in the number 95. However, we still carry on with the battling out on circuit, and Licata has a lead of just over 4/10 from Albert Friend in the number 19. Alfie Mew trying to close them down a little bit now, but Licata's gone purple in the first lap, 1 minute 3.162.
You could see there 3 different racing lines into the first corner at Stadium.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I was getting confused there. But yeah, 3 different racing lines, and it just shows which one's working, which ones are not. And yeah, it just seems to be a weird one. You would have thought the inside line wouldn't be the one to go for.
Definitely the case, because with these wet weather conditions, as Mew is closing on the back bumper of Friend quite quickly now, and he's about 3 kart lengths behind. So the battle for the lead, obviously the first 3 of the 4 qualifying spots here in the Bambino Coma B final. We have 6 minutes and 35 seconds plus an additional lap left to go. So Licata leads, Friend in second, Mew closing him down in third, Kelly and Russell now in fourth, Felix Hill in fifth, Connor Winfield and Harpadas ran out the top, well, the 7.
We do indeed. 5 minutes on the clock left to go, 4/10 between the top 2.
Oh, hang on, has there been a change for second? Not quite. Albert Friend was nearly passed by Alfie Mew going into Reg's elbow there. So we've got 5 minutes and 35 on the clock left to go. Still plenty of time for maybe even for Alfie Mew to try and get in front of Rio Licata. But it's just dependent on how the track evolves, how these drivers cope with the conditions, and how they cope with racing each other. Because these youngsters start as young as 5 years of age, and they are the ones that really, you know, I've seen a lot of Bambino time trials, and here we go. Mew is closing again on Friend.
No, they did try to look down the inside there, didn't he, at Pylon. Couldn't quite get the momentum out the corner, though. Again, the wider entry and the tighter exit working well for Friend there. Mew trying anything he can to do it, but you can see there that gap slightly opened up after that little mistake he had.
So we still have plenty of this race to go. Very tight line there from Alfie Mew. He was swooping through that corner like a man possessed. As Connor Winfield now goes up into P5 ahead of Katie and Russell. So Russell was in P4, but now that is occupied by the number 16 of Felix Hill, who's really got a move on now, and he's done a 1 minute 1.947 on that last lap. Best effort, a 61.329 around the 950-minute circuit here at Rye House. So we're fast approaching the half-time in terms of the timer counting down.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go on that one, and you see these guys going through so super tidy from these guys as well as they dive through pylon. A super tight section of circuit that as well, compared to the rest of it where it's quite open fast for these karts, apart from the 2 hairpin sections. But again, really close still at the front.
So we've got around about just over 4 minutes remaining of this session. And Licata still leading, but Friend is closing the gap. He took out nearly 3/10 of a second out of Rio Licata on that particular occasion. So the gap now just over half a second.
Yeah, Licata clearly controlling the pace at the moment, but Friend is responding. That gap slowly coming down as they go into the first of the hairpins, and that's very wide on the exit for Licata, and that's going to allow Friend to really close that gap now.
I think that's very much the case, but you will find that I think we'll both be in agreement here that when you find that right line that gives you that purchase, that adhesion to the surface, that you might take a wider line, but then you can come out flying, as we've seen in a lot of the other categories here this weekend, all 5 of them, and the Bambinos notwithstanding. And we can just sort of see what happens over the next 3 minutes, 18 seconds, plus an additional lap. It looks like Licata has extended the gap over Friend ever so slightly. It was half a second last time around. This time, as Licata takes a wider line as he swoops in towards Stadium. The gap now is just under half a second, as that was 0.036 taken out of Licata's lead by Friend, who closes up so really well. Has that real carry of momentum through Stadium into the left at Reg's elbow. Licata still trying to control things, but Friend has other ideas, and he says, I might be your friend off the track, Rio. On it, I'm not. I'm racing and I want to win just as much as you do. But these two are part of the top four at the moment, with Alfie Mew, as Kalian Russell now actually deposes Felix Hill out of the top top four with around 2.5 minutes remaining. As Licata going in the ultra defensive. Here comes Friend, really chasing the number 9 down for what could decide where they end up on the grid. So obviously they'll be in the top 4 positions, but then it'll also decide their starting position for the final.
After watching for these couple of laps, I can see Licata is definitely faster through the pylon section of the circuit. Friend, though, is much quicker around this first corner. You can see looking to the inside just to see if he can go for a move. Can't quite do it this time. Sticks to the outside, and he's going to try get that cut back here as they go back to the infield.
He definitely has that good carry of momentum through that final aspect of Stadium, going round towards the outside, cutting through, and then trying to make sure that he gets an opportunity to close up on Rio Licata, as Licata goes nearly 4 wheels off the track there, out of the infield hairpin. And then you can see that Friend just closes up in the braking zone, makes sure that he has that opportunity to try and move forward. And it's only a matter of time before Licata is going to come under pressure from Friend, and we've got just under 90 seconds, make that 1 minute and 21, plus an additional lap to go. So the top 4 at the moment. Felix Hill again is in front of Kalian Russell in the 4th and final qualification spot for the A final later on today. So we're fast approaching the last minute, as Licata and Friend, they were nearly 0.2 of a second apart last time, but now it's just over 0.4. As again, Friend goes very close, swooping around the outside of Stadium, taking that tighter line, which allows him to get the cut back through the exit and into Reg's elbow. So again, Friend is just showing that he has good momentum carry, but Licata has him nailed on the corners.
It is very true, and again, you can just see here Licata going slightly wide, but yeah, as you say, gets on that power, can really power out those corners there, and Friend not responding as well as I suspect some people hoping, and you know, you can just see that it's just sticking to the track limits. Maybe he's hoping that Licata's going to pick up a track limits warning or maybe a penalty.
Well,
he's gone off the track quite a lot.
He has, but I think with the weather conditions permitting, I think there will be some sort of tolerance allowed. You know, and these kids, you know, there's a lot of dad and lad operations.
Yeah.
With this, where it's fathers bonding with sons and mothers bonding with daughters and sons, and likewise. So, so the leaders come across the line, and it's going to be
another lap. Oh, no, it is last lap.
It is last lap. The timer just had a bit of a flicker there.
Yes.
Went to 0 and then went to 16, but Licata holding on at the moment from Albert Friend. The gap between them just over 0.6 of a second. Alfie Mew and Felix Hill still running in the top 4. Kalian Russell has faded a bit, I think, in the dying stages of this race, so will have no opportunity to get into the A final a little bit later on today.
No, definitely so. And as I say, this last lap now, it doesn't look like he's close enough to go for a move here, does Friend on Licata. So I think as they go into pylon, and we've definitely seen Licata already looks like he's fist bumping the air there slightly, that he's happy with this.
I think he's, you know, I've met his dad as well, and his dad's a nice guy. And it's just really nice to see father and son just having a good time at kart track. And Rio, you know, doesn't want to be on a sim like all the other kids. He wants to be behind the wheel.
No, definitely.
So Rio Licata comes across to provisionally win the Bambino Kona B final and takes the first of 4 qualifying spots for the A final this afternoon. Albert Friend takes second, and in third position, the 32, Mr. Alfie Mew, takes the penultimate qualifying spot for the A final later on today. So we're just waiting. We've got a little bit of a wait, but you know, you have to give credit where credit is due with these young drivers starting as young as 5 years of age. And here comes a few more, and I'm just seeing what's happening here. Looks like Felix Hill has had a bit of a disaster, because Kalian Russell fist bumps the air and knows, hey, Mum and Dad, I'm off to the A final. I've got a chance to go for the London Cup. That's brilliant, you know, to see that. Oh, this YouTube banter is making me giggle. So Rio Licata, Albert Friend, Alfie Mew, and Kalian Russell round out the top 4. Provisionally speaking, we'll will make it through to the A final a little bit later on today. And that is the first of 2 B finals. We have one more to go. Next up, it's Senior Rotax. Oh, and even I've got a high now as well. That's a bit disappointing. I'm second fiddle, aren't I? Yeah, just to say, Senior Rotax. Yeah. B final. 2 seconds, hang on. Right, can we have a call out for all Senior Rotax B final drivers to the grid, please? All Senior Rotax drivers for the B final to the grid, please.
Yeah, it was all right, wasn't it?
That sounded pretty good.
It did. It came out quite
So those
nicely.
at the PA, you can't actually, unfortunately, hear Anthony Jordan, but you can hear him if you're listening to the live stream.
Yes.
So, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So, could we have all Senior Rotax B final competitors to the grid, please?
Those clouds are coming over the circuit quite well, aren't they? So seems like the track's clearing up slightly out there, but these clouds still moving over quite quickly. I don't think we are due any rain. There's some really dark clouds over to the side of us, but I don't think they're going to come anywhere near us. So these guys, the Senior Rotax, will be making their way out onto the circuit very shortly. Alex will surely go through the grids with you as and when they do come out. You can still see there's so much standing water on the start-finish line as well. So even though the rain stopped, there was lots of standing water there as we look towards turn 1 now. You can see there the dry line definitely forming just as the karts have gone through. But still lots of puddles everywhere, lots of puddles on the runoff area as well. So if you end up with a mistake, you are straight off onto the puddles there. And unfortunately, I wrecked my shoes earlier while I was actually setting up this camera that you're looking at. I destroyed my lovely shoes. So yes, I was very disappointed with that. I need to bring wellies the next time I come to a commentary round. And yeah, that would definitely be needed. So the Senior Rotax making their way onto the circuit now. And Alex will be giving your grids out very, very shortly, I should hope. He's having a little conversation at the moment. Are you joining us back, Alex? You're back now? You're sorting out the other microphone, aren't you?
Well, it's not just the other microphone, because people can hear me on the PA, but they can't hear you.
Yeah.
But the running order for those at home and also those on the... that can listen, well, if they can hear me on the PA, well, it sometimes fits and starts. We'll have the Senior Rotax B final, then it'll be Honda Cadets, Junior Rotax, 177 Rotax, Bambino, and closing out the 2019 London Cup will be Senior Rotax. So the grid is as follows. We've got Chris Calava, Luke Collins, Harvey Hollick, Tom Richards, Dean Wallace, Pete Newman, Tamsin Owen, and Tonino Machici. Rounding out the 8 strong. So 4 places up for grabs. 8 minutes on the gantry, and do we go lights out? This time we do.
Good start from all of them as they head through turn 1, and again, everyone getting through cleanly.
Yep, and it's 2 abreast. A little bit further down the order is... Oh, we got a spinner there. Not again. Calamity in Senior Rotax, and one of them looks to be Harvey Hollick. the 2019 Rye House IKEA CDMX champion, and whoever that is trying to get out got through the steeplechase puddle and put it sideways and put water on the track as someone else is going spinning, and that's Tamsin Owen.
I think Tamsin Owen was one of the other drivers that was caught out earlier on, and I think just with the grass on the tyres there, has been caught out with the low traction levels.
That's definitely the case, because now we have in the lead of this, of all people, the person that had a few calamities earlier on, Chris Calava in the 24 is leading ahead of the number 18 of Tom Richards, Pete Newman, Dean Wallace and Tonino Machichi. That's the top 5. So Calava now in prime position to qualify for the A final a little bit later on, and that will be the last final of the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. So Calava still leads, and Tom Richards isn't that far adrift. He's just under 3/10 away, as we've got more calamity behind Calava, no doubt. Looks to be, may have... Now, let's just see what happens here. Oh, there's a bit of a clattering in, and I'm just wondering who that was.
Looks like the 55, Harvey Hollock, that was involved in that one, who was on the inside. I think he just got squeezed in.
So still a lot to play for, as Calava coming under pressure from Richards, going through Stadium. So it might have been Luke Collins, I think, might have been the other driver involved. I think I saw a 6 there on the side pod. So Luke Collins down at the tail end, Charlie, of the field, but Harvey Hollick is putting in the fast laps right now. He's actually faster than anybody, as Calava goes storming around the outside of Richards, as Richards sends it up the inside. Like the School of Send, of course, up the inside of the infield hairpin, but Calava very wise to it, as there is a dry line starting to emerge, but it's still going to negate the fact of, and the lead is going on for it, as Richards tries to go towards the inside of the S's, but Calava just gives him a little bit of a nudge with his with his right front wheel to Richards' left to say, you know, I'm here, mate. You haven't got enough room here, as Richards goes up the inside of Calava. The pair nearly interlock wheels on the exit. Pete Newman is not that far behind, but Calava still hangs on and keeps the lead of the race, but Richards is squirming all over the place. Goes up the inside of the 24 into the infield hairpin. Calava this time at the moment, it could be the fact that Calava really is going to have the run of Richards coming out of the outfield hairpin, but Newman is closing all the time here. Calava was very sideways as he put down the throttle and mashed it to the floor. However, it's still a case that Calava still has time to get his opportunity of being at the head of the top 4 that qualify for the A final, which closes out the action later on today.
Yeah, you can see they're super close between the two, and there's a move for the third place as Harvey Hollick sets a new fastest lap of the race, 45.690. But that looked like Newman trying to go down the inside of Calava there into turn 1, but don't think he managed to get the move done.
No, Harvey Hollick has just taken 1.255 seconds out of Pete Newman and is closing. That gap has definitely been decimated by the 55 from Kartech. Luke Collins, in the meantime, has set a personal best. 47.269, but Harvey Hollick is definitely the quickest one out there, as the battle for second is really heating up as Calava gets passed and gets nerfed out the way slightly by Pete Newman in the 61, but Harvey Hollick now is in the top 4. Let's see if he can, with just over 4 minutes of this race, plus an additional lap, close the gap to not just Newman, who's now gone up into second ahead of Calava, but Calava is now first on the hit list for Harvey Hollick. Then it'll be Newman, then it'll be Richards, who's at the front end of the field, as Newman takes out just over 2/10, as Harvey Hollick took out a whopping 1.1 seconds out of Chris Calava, who he goes up the inside of into P3 on the infield hairpin with just under 4 minutes remaining on the clock, but Calava trying to fight back. And Hollick is having absolutely none of it. Yeah,
Hollick's on a massive charge right now, really putting in those quick sectors and almost closing right to the back now of Newman. So is he going to take Newman on this next lap? I suspect he's probably going to be eyeing him up.
Definitely, and look to go up the inside, or maybe even go round the outside, as Eminem would say. However, Richard still leads. Hollick is definitely closing and took 0.6 of a second out of Pete Newman on that last lap alone. He put in a 45.887, as Pete Newman was on a 46.5. As Newman goes sideways, breaking into the infield hairpin, and again Harvey Hollick pounces. That's a great move from the 55. He's just got one more on the bucket list to get out of the way, and that is the number 18 of Tom Richards, as the top 3 power out of the outfield hairpin onto the back straightaway into pylon. So Richards keeping things calm and composed, but Hollick looking very measured and very controlled in terms of aggression, getting past those that are in his way.
Yeah, he's putting out purple sectors all the way through. He's absolutely flying up there, is Hollick. And again, it's now the next one is for the lead. It's Richards as they go around turn one again now for the 7th time. And there's a potential move down the inside, but again, just can't get on the power.
No, Hollick, I think, was just a bit wise there, just keeping back. But he's going slingshotting past through Reg's elbow, past Tom Richards. That's a great move for the lead of this race. So the Senior Max B final really coming to a fulcrum as we enter the last quarter. 2 minutes and 10 plus an additional lap. Harvey Hollick very measured on the throttle modulation there, coming through the outfield hairpin before planting the foot firmly to the floor, bumps over the curbs through pylon, into the second half of it now, into the complex Nouvelles. And then ahead of Tom Richards, who was keeping pace with Hollick, I must admit. But Hollick, on that last lap, took over 7.5 tenths and shot past Richards to get the lead. 2 minutes on the clock remaining.
Yeah, has a quick look over his shoulder as Hollick sees that there's already got a little bit of a gap, so he's just need to concentrate now, keep his head down and keep bringing in those purple sectors, and he should be fine.
Well, Chris Calava, in the meantime, gets a fastest lap for his troubles, for him, personally in 46.816, as Pete Newman trying to close on Tom Richards by about 1/10 of a second. 1 minute and 24 to go on the clock. And, yeah, Harvey Hollick has pretty much got this one. He's done the job. He's come from behind and he's actually made sure that he's done the job and got past everyone in front, which includes the two now battling over the runner-up position in the B final, which will put them in the qualification spots for the A final a little bit later, as Senior Rotax will close out the action. As, oh, that's a real shame for Dean Wallace there, spinning out, and that was through pylon, through the entrance into pylon, where there's that big standing water puddle there. So 48 seconds on the clock remaining. Harvey Hollick is starting to check out a bit, and he's just gone over 0.4 of a second quicker than Tom Richards on that last lap, putting in a 46.0. Richards was a 46.4. Pete Newman puts in a personal best on a 46.1 and is closing again on Richards. Took out nearly a quarter, or just over a quarter of a second. He's going side by side into pylon with the 18. But has to think better of it. He'll have another couple of laps, though, as when we get on to crossing the start-finish line very shortly. So Harvey Hollick, with around about, I think, probably about 15 seconds on the clock, will cross the start-finish line.
Yep, so there he does, crosses it now. 15 seconds to go, so they'll have this lap, one more, then they'll get the last lap out there. So, yeah, 10 laps in at the moment, but that gap is still opening up. 1.6 clear now from Tom Richards and Newman, but Newman is still piling on the pressure to Richards as well.
Definitely the case, as Tonino Machichi rounds out in the top 5 and is about 11 seconds behind Chris Calava, who is in the last of the 4 qualification spots for the A final a little bit later on this afternoon, as the timer is now expired. That's it, job's done. So Harvey Hollick this time is coming through pylon for the penultimate time as the battle rages on for second between Tom Richards and Pete Newman. So Newman still trying to keep on level pegging with Richards and hopefully pass him as we now go round towards completing the penultimate lap of the race. Final lap board for Harvey Hollick. Lap number 12 of the race, and he's a clear 2.3 seconds ahead of Tom Richards.
Yeah, he's got this under control, has Hollick, so just keeping his head down on this last lap. Richards and Newman, though, as we're looking at them now, they're still closer than ever. A little bit opened up, actually, previously than they have been, but as they negotiate these first 2 of the hairpins, it's still anyone to play for, really, for this runner-up spot.
So, leaders now coming through towards pylon for the final time. So first will be negotiated by the 55 of Kart's very own Harvey Hollick, who will qualify for the A final, as will Tom Richards, and not too far from his rear bumper is the number 61 of Pete Newman. Then Chris Calava managing to make sure that he does the business as Harvey Hollick takes both hands off the steering wheel. Nice little cheeky controlled drift into stadium to celebrate in style, and puts in the fastest lap of the race of 45.646 on that final 12th lap of the race. Tom Richards and Pete Newman and Chris Calava provisionally qualify for the A final a little bit later on this afternoon, with Tonino Machichi, Dean Wallace, Luke Collins and Tam Zanoe now having to wait another 12 months until they can come back to the 2020 London Cup here at Rye House.
hear that on the mic. Sorry if you've just joined us. James said a comment about a comment on the YouTube, and I giggled to it as we went live.
It is time for the business end of the 2019 London Cup here at Rye House Kart Raceway in Hoddesdon, not too far from the hometown at Stevenage of five-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton. 5 finals, each 10 minutes plus an additional lap as Anthony Jordan continues to giggle like a little girl after that comment, silently to himself nonetheless. But these are all 10 minutes plus an additional lap to decide our 2019 Rye House London Cup champions, with the coverage thanks to Alpha Live, presented in association with Screedforce Limited, a proud sponsor of the Rye House London Cup in 2019. Your grid is as follows. Ethan Simmons is on pole position ahead of Connor Duncan, the O-Plate champion from Scotland. Josh Agenbar and Tal Butler look to be lining up on row number 2 ahead of Hayden Eldridge, Casey Lynch, Wesley Swain, Joshua Graham, William Murphy, Joe Cheek, Ralph Jungling from Germany, Simon Parfitt, Anthony Parfitt, James Bell, Timo Jungling, Yihan Kalichan, Emily Jackson starting in 17th ahead of Jarrett Clark, Adam Wooden, Milo Manderson, Antoni Witkowski, Ian Alexandro Marginon with Amin Saran and Andor Zalontai rounding out the 24 strong. 10 minutes on the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats, grab a hold of something. The London Cup truly gets underway right this second. Red lights go onto the starting gantry very, very shortly indeed. And we will be lights out to crown one of 5 champions. Red lights on the gantry. We go green for the first of 5 finals in the 2019 Rye House London Cup. Everyone gets away, and it's 4-5 abreast heading to stadium for the first time. But Simmons takes the initial lead. Or does he? That was very close indeed, as Connor Duncan goes up the inside into second position ahead of Josh Agenbar, who's in the 16. As they all stream their way, Hayden Eldridge looks to be up into 4th place ahead of Casey Lynch in the 41, as it is all kicking off, and Connor Duncan really trying to steal a march on Ethan Simmons, as Simmons goes back up the inside for the lead on the outfield hairpin as they head down towards pylon for the first time. 3 abreast, 2-fold. Look at this, it's like a swallow formation in the air, isn't it?
I saw the 42 getting very out of shape. That's Teo Butler there, massively out of shape, managing to keep it on the track though. Contact warning for Ralph Juggling as well. He's being spotted by the stewards, but just under 10 minutes to go as we finish this first lap here at Rye House for the A final.
So Ralph Jungling getting a contact warning for his troubles. Brother Timo is down in around about 15th position at the minute, as Hayden Eldridge puts in the fastest lap of this race as the lead changes yet again. And it is not just the fact that Ethan Simmons wants to win, it's also the fact that Hayden Eldridge and Connor Duncan are now 2nd and 1st respectively, as that's a brilliant move from Ethan Simmons, but he forces Connor Duncan out wide fairly as well, but that allows Hayden Eldridge to keep things stalemate at the front of the field thus far. Antoni Witkowski with a contact warning in the number 40.
Yep, so plenty of action still at the front here. These first 4 drivers all giving us a good show. The 23 again taken to the curb of the inside of Paddock Corner there as they go back onto the start-finish straight 2 and lap 2.
So Hayden Eldridge being challenged now by Ethan Simmons, who goes up the inside. Connor Duncan could file through. As Casey Lynch in there as well. It's an absolute slobber knocker as there's massive standing water puddles being hit. And who was that? That was Ethan Simmons that got compromised. Connor Duncan goes up the inside of the Young Racing Driver Academy ace and goes up into what is now 3rd position on the road as Casey Lynch takes the lead of the A final here. That's a real dramatic turnaround as Simmons being swallowed up by the rest of the field. He's ran down into about turn P7 as he's behind Tal Butler, and just behind him is the 88, and that is Joshua Graham, with Wesley Swain, Ralph Jungling, Joe Cheek rounding out the top 10. Connor Duncan, Josh Agenbar both get a contact warning from race control. Oh, spinner off at Paddock. Spinner off at Paddock. Who is that? That person is not going to be taking any further participation.
42.
That's Tal Butler, out and eliminated. No chance for him for the 2019 London Cup title, but it is game on at the front of the field. Casey Lynch and Hayden Eldridge, line astern, going into the infield hairpin. A little bit further back, you've got Connor Duncan, the O-plate. Then it is the 23, I believe, of Ethan Simmons as they go round towards the outfield hairpin. 7 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap. It's not about where the points are now. I think if I remember correctly, if you finish first, you are the London Cup champion. Casey Lynch definitely putting a case forward to say, well, I'm the one that needs to be at the front of the field. Hayden Eldridge saying otherwise. Connor Duncan, Josh Agenbar, Ethan Simmons will have something to say. There is still around about 7 minutes to go, and it is all kicking off all the way down the field.
Duncan's got a bit of a gap to close up to these front two, but it's a new fastest lap from Duncan as well, managing to close up to these two. Eldridge just managed to pip it, but then Duncan, as he crosses the line, gets the new fastest lap.
So still battling away. Hayden Eldridge steals the lead now from Casey Lynch, going in through Reggie's elbow into the infield hairpin as the sun is now starting to break through the clouds and actually shining its way into the commentary box. And we've got multiple screens we're trying to concentrate on. We need a sunblind as well at the meantime, as Connor Duncan really reeling in now. Both Casey Lynch, who's in second, Hayden Eldridge resumes the lead. And a little bit further back, Ethan Simmons has got an absolute mountain to climb here, all the way down in around about 4th or 5th position. So Simmons really has to go hammer and tongs over the next 6 minutes and 15 seconds, plus an additional lap on how he's then going to try and move forward, because he was the leader coming into this. He was on pole, and it's not really working out for the youngster, but who knows? We could find out what's going to happen later on.
Yeah, you can see there's a big shame for Simmons at the moment. You see he's got swallowed by the main pack there, really dropping back up into 4th now. He's at the front of that pack, and now he's going to try and close in on these guys. You can see these three now breaking away from the main pack. Eldridge, Lynch and Duncan, they're going to try and fight their way through, and there's another dive down the inside there. I think that was the 95.
Yeah, the 95 of William Murphy probably battling away with Joe Cheek, who's just ahead in 7th position at the moment. So the running order at the moment, there's been some moves up the order. Emily Jackson has got herself all the way up into 12th position through the halfway stage. And Harry Frields just says, get your head down, Casey Lynch. Definitely needs to be the case, because Casey is about a second away from Hayden Eldridge, who continues to lead the Honda Cadet finale of the 2019 Rye House London Cup. The winner takes home the prestige of this prestigious title, as well as a 3-hour sim and one-to-one coaching session with 360 performance in Milton Keynes, as Casey Lynch gets a contact warning. Anthony Parfitt's had one as well, as Connor Duncan now resumes up into 2nd position. So Connor Duncan now trying to chase down Hayden Eldridge. 4 minutes and 26 on the clock to go in the Honda Cadet final of the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. So at the moment, Eldridge leads, Duncan 2nd, Lynch 3rd. Then it's a huge gap. So Ethan Simmons, I don't think we might have to settle for possibly what could be 4th position at the end of it, after such the amount of work that he's put in this weekend. Joe Cheek, Josh Agenbar, William Murphy, Timur Jungling from Germany, Emily Jackson and James Bell round out the top 10. Rounding out the order at the moment, from 11th, it's Wesley Swain, Anthony Parfitt, Ralph Jungling, Yihan Kalichan, Simon Parfitt, Jarrett Clark, Joshua Graham, Adam Wood and Tal Butler now up into 19th, having recovered, as it's 3 abreast that are pretty much coming out of that the infield hairpin. And just behind, looks like the 95 of William Murphy, is Timur Jungling definitely getting stuck in, has just been passed by, it looks like, the number 16 of Josh Agenbar, who's so the positions are changing all the time. It's always cat and mouse in Honda Cadet, and we're really seeing that the battles will come to the fore, but the battle between the top 3 will start reeling in with about 3 laps remaining. And at the pace they're setting at the moment, they're running in the 48.1s, so we'll see what happens as Ethan Simmons just fending off Joe Cheek for 4th position, as Simmons has to go a little bit wide and goes side by side, gets the inside run going into the outfield hairpin, goes wide. This allows Joe Cheek to get the cut back, and he goes side by side with the 23 and slingshots past nicely into pylon there. But the top 3 separated. Oh, that was a bit of a late dash up the inside by Ethan Simmons with Joe Cheek. That's very cheeky indeed, but that's allowed William Murphy, and now Emily Jackson is going to close on them as well. But the top 3 separated by 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, a little bit cheeky, but the gap was there, so I would have gone for it as well. And again, down the inside goes Simmons on the 23, but instantly side-by-side forces out wide, and then the 95 and the 76 as well, and the 71 spins. Oh, and that's Joe Cheek. Joe Cheek into the wall.
Joe Cheek spins and recovers. Ethan Simmons got swamped by the likes of William Murphy and Emily Jackson and got caught out there. So at the minute, it's still quite a lot. We're into the last fifth of this race. So it is a game on between Eldridge, Duncan and Lynch. And Eldridge is pulling a gap. And Connor Duncan is slipping away, fading fast in the last couple of minutes of this race. So 1.4 seconds is the difference. But Connor Duncan, in the meantime, is actually closed up by about 600ths of a second. It's not enough at the moment, but he needs to do a lot more than that, as Ethan Simmons now down in 6th position ahead of Josh Agenbar. Emily Jackson, the 26. She had a disaster earlier on in the last preliminary heat. She's now...
Oh, bless you.
Excuse me. Frog in the throat there. Trying to hydrate like you were last night. Emily Jackson all the way up into 5th position. And it's really kicking off as we go into the last few moments. As again, Josh Agenbar sizing up Ethan Simmons for a move up the inside. These are teammates. One of the biggest rules in racing is race fairly, but don't take out your teammate. And in Honda Cadets, it is hard fought all the way from lights out to checkered flag.
Yeah, definitely indeed. 1 minute to go, so not that much time left. And Hayden Eldridge still leading the way by 1.349 seconds. But this battle further back, as you can see, always concertinaing up the 21, looking down the inside of James Bell. So James Bell can't quite get anything done. And Ethan Simmons as well, the 23, back down the inside, gets in front of Emily Jackson and the 26 for 5th.
Yeah, that looks to be the, that's the...
That's
16.
Oh, it's the 16 of Josh Agenbar, sorry.
Josh Agenbar, so Emily Jackson a bit further up the road.
Ah, right, okay.
Simmons again compromised, and that was Timur Jungling getting in on the mix. Oh, contact between Ethan Simmons and Josh Agenbar, and Agenbar goes backwards into the barriers again for the second race in succession. But we have 20 seconds on the clock remaining, plus an additional lap. And nice little thing being said by Harry Friel. Girl power, thumbs up. Well done, Emily Jackson. So look at the replay here. Just miscalculated, I think. Yep.
Again, just a little bit later on the brakes, trying to hold off on that inside, but yeah, just tags the back end of that kart.
Yeah, and Timur Jungling, unfortunately, having to take avoiding action. But the timer has now expired. And where is Hayden Eldridge on the circuit at the moment? The 51.
He's near the end of the circuit. I think he's around pylon.
So let's see if we can find out where he is. Here he comes. The number 51 had an injury in the mid part of the season, curtailing his British Kart Championships season. However, it's going to be one more lap to go. This is the sign that Hayden Eldridge needs. 950 metres to negotiate. Splashes through the puddle on the left-hand side of the entrance into Stadium Bend, wrestling with the steering wheel as much as he can to just keep it on the asphalt. Connor Duncan 1.788 seconds behind. And Eldridge has done the absolute thing. He's been in the right place at the right time, because we find out very shortly that our first champion will be crowned in around 30 seconds' time, provisionally speaking, as Hayden Eldridge in the 51 makes his way through pylon for the final time. Through the S's, and I know that his dad is going to be absolutely happy with joy, because round the final corner, provisionally speaking, Hayden Eldridge is your 2019 Rye House London Cup champion. Connor Duncan, the O-plate from Scotland, takes second position, and well done to Casey Lynch. Number 41 takes, and Emily Jackson crosses the line. What a show from the 26. Fourth position at the end of it all, but Hayden Eldridge, provisionally speaking, is your 2019 Rye House London Cup champion. He takes, so obviously I'm sure that he'll get a congratulations from Dan Ginchard, last year's winner, who is here this weekend. Will definitely be shaking hands with Hayden Eldridge, who won by 1.991 seconds, taking the top prize of a 3-hour sim training and tuition with our good friends at 360 Performance. Connor Duncan takes 2 hours, and Casey Lynch rounds out the podium. Emily Jackson in 4th place in the 26, ahead of William Murphy. James Bell, Ethan Simmons finished in 7th. Great from the brothers Jungling from Germany. 8th and 9th with Heinz SFR Motorsport. Wesley Swain rounds out the top 10 ahead of Anthony Parfitt, Joe Cheek, Simon Parfitt, Joshua Graham, Tao Butler, Josh Agenbar, Adam Wooden, Jarrett Clark, Ian Alexandru Marginon, Milo Manderson, Antoni Witkowski, Yihan Kalichan, Eamon Saran, and Zolontai. So let's just have a look at some of the highlights. Here's Casey Lynch versus Hayden Eldridge here.
There's the tap, yeah, from the back, and that was how he managed to get past.
So I think really This microphone is causing so much static over there, isn't it? Shall I go with just the live stream? These, yeah, because if the parents will see it unfold on the track. We've been trying to wrestle with both syncing up to the. Oh, no. We're trying to work with two. This is what I'm just to explain to the people at home, that we're running with two microphones. Anthony can't be heard on one. I can be heard on that. So
don't fancy juggling it, do we?
Well, no. The problem is that it's the position of where you got to hold it. So we're going to go live stream for the remainder of this because it's going to make things a little bit easier for the pair of us. It will.
I think it will indeed.
Right, next up it is Junior Rotax. Let's go with the Stinger, shall we? Well, for the conclusion of the 2019 Rye House London Cup, myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Anthony Jordan, my partner in crime, on the commentary box position here, just overlooking the back straightaway. Anthony, it's been very interesting. We've had Hayden Eldridge, our first 2019 London Cup champion, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. We're going to the live stream commentary for the remainder of the weekend because the microphone just isn't really functioning that well, unfortunately.
Yeah, the PA's kind of given up the ghost, really, hasn't it?
It's just
stopped working.
It's just the distance from the PA receiver over the other side of the circuit. So it just
giving that one up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with the live stream, of course, for anyone who is watching at the circuit who now can't hear us. Of course, this will be on the internet for forever until any further ado. But yeah, of course, you can check it out at Alpha Live on the YouTube channel, or of course on Facebook as well. So do watch it back, of course.
So Harry Friel says, well done, Hayden. Definitely well deserved there. Apologies that we haven't had, we were trying to sync with the PA a bit earlier on. And obviously James was not having a bit of luck with that, were you, my friend? Shaking his head with despondency there, Mr. Fitchew. But one of the people behind Alpha Live with Luke Austin also was here yesterday. But I think Luke, if I remember correctly, is up at Snetterton, isn't it?
He's at Snetterton,
for continuing coverage of the remainder of the 750 Motor Club weekend at Snetterton in Norfolk.
Quite windy at Snetterton, though, isn't it? It's very open.
It is. It's very open plan in Norfolk.
Yeah. But Kart's making the way out.
Now, shush, Greg. Okay, well, we've crowned one champion. Now we've got to crown another. Second out of 5 finals, 10 minutes plus an additional lap. So the grid is going to be very, very interesting indeed because, hey, I'm not talking about these messages. Come on, keep your eyes on the live streams
exactly.
and the timing. Come on.
Exactly. Have we started racing yet? Because
no.
the time was counting down. I didn't think we had.
No, we're on the
They're on the outlap.
The formation lap.
Yeah,
so the grid is as follows. Alfie Brooks and Finley Dunn on row 1. Well... Nice
shot, that.
Yeah, very nice shot indeed. Gets in part of the Rye House website there, rye-house.co.uk. So we've got Alfie Brooks and Finley Dunn on row 1, Scott Sumpton, and there we go. Now, James Otto, he was asking earlier on, was Dylan. So looks like James is going to be running on the outside of row 5.
Yeah.
So full start again.
So no start this time around. You could see there that Alfie Brooks did break away very early. The timing does come up, but like I say, the screen does say false start, and it looked like a false start as well, didn't it?
Yeah, so it's a 2x2 rolling start formation. If the race starters aren't happy with it, they will not allow us to proceed with racing. So Brooks and Dunn on the front row, Dunford and Sumpton, that is row 2, Ronnie Mansfield and Louis Weaver on row 3, Caitlin May and Poppy Stevenson on row 4, Jack Brand and James Otto on row 5 with Lucas Ivaskevicius and Daniel Ginchard starting on row 6. Ellis Humphreys and Ben Ballou, Chloe Kenyasik, Bryn Evans and Ryan Margolis.
I don't think some of these have realised that it's another rolling start, but there we go, they get themselves in order now.
Well, they've got to quickly do it because they'll come round paddock for the final time before we go lights out and off and racing as the Rotax engines roar into life and we go green here. The timer does tick away and that is it. Perfect start as Brooks is ahead of Dunn, it looks like. As Louis Weaver's trying to steal a march on Dunn there, shoves him wide, going through Reg's elbow.
And I'm not sure if he spun there at all, but no, he is still there.
He's down in 3rd position, but we've now got, looks like several other drivers trying to scrabble over each other. Not quite literally, but figuratively speaking, trying to get past. So at the moment, it looks like, I think it might be Carl Dunford or Louis. It's Louis Weaver that's in 2nd position behind Alfie Brooks. Dan Ginchard needs to get a motor on now because he's all the way down in around 13th position as they come around to complete lap number 1. Alfie Brooks leading the way. Now it's Louis Weaver, Finley Dunn, Scott Sumpton, Ronnie Mansfield, Poppy Stevenson, Caitlin May, Jack Brand, Ellis Humphreys, James Ottos. Dan Ginchard now past Lucas Ivaskevicius for 12th place and charging forward. Dan's looking to make 2 London Cup titles in 2 successive years with the fact that he was the Honda Cadet champion last season and he's making places hand over fist. This is really going to be where Dan Ginchard might bring through a champion's drive if he can make it through those that are in front of him at the moment as he's currently round about sort of 11th or 12th position.
Weaver and Dunn still having a great little scrap here, side by side as they were going into pylon there. Now we exit round paddock corner, back onto the start-finish straight. You can see now that he's starting to pull away, or they're starting to lose contact with Brooks. Brooks is checking out here.
Brooks definitely is, and at the moment it looks like Finley Dunn is closing on Louis Weaver for 2nd position, who tried to mug the 26 and nearly put him into the wall a little bit earlier on the last lap nonetheless, as Alfie Brooks just pulling away comfortably as Finley Dunn looks up the inside of Louis Weaver. Weaver very wise to it, claws back as Dunn goes back up the inside on the Ralf Schumacher chassis and has to slot back in for 3rd position. Meanwhile, Dan Ginchard is now only 7.3 seconds off of the leader. He's in 10th position and closing. And at the moment, he is setting 46 zeros at the minute. So he's in traffic. That's going to compromise him. But the biggest thing for me, Anthony, 44 fours, 44 twos for Alfie Brooks in the last couple of laps. So he is pulling away from Louis Weaver. Louis Weaver is 2.4 seconds adrift. It's then a further 4 tenths back to Finley Dunn. Dan Ginchard really has to do a lot of work, and he's just taken, as I say that, Harry Friel says, come on Ginchard, get climbing. Well, he is already. He's up to 9th, and he's taken nearly a second out of Jack Brand in the 22, who's currently in 8th position and was just over 4 tenths just up the road. Then it's a further 1.4 to Caitlin May, a further 3 tenths up the road to Poppy Stevenson in 6th. So Dan Ginchard has time on his side. He has about 7 minutes and 20 plus an additional lap to make his mark from pretty much the penultimate row on the grid. He's got to get a move on, though, as he is coming, charging towards the number 11. He's up to 8th. He's closing on Poppy Stevenson, and he's 7.68ing. So, in many respects, it is the case that Dan Ginchard looking to move up. He's taken 2 seconds. 2 seconds out of Poppy Stevenson on that last lap alone. And it's very interesting how Ginchard, he's absolutely on it. He is nailing it. And the dry line is starting to emerge here. 6 minutes and 24 left on the clock, plus an additional lap. And he's really, really pushing the limit of adhesion, is Dan Ginchard. He's got a chance to catch up with the few up front, which includes, I think it's now Caitlin May just in front of him in a minute. So Ginchard up to 7th. He's only 8.3 seconds behind the leader. He's taken 3.5 tenths out of Caitlin May and is moving on. Scott Sumpton from Ambition Motorsport, another one here this weekend, up into 4th place, ahead of Ronnie Mansfield, who's trying to slide up the inside. Ginchard looks to have taken 6th there through the infield hairpin. So 5 minutes and 50, Anthony. And there's still time for Daniel Ginchard to claw his way forward, doing a great recovery drive from what was a difficult second heat earlier on today.
Yeah, definitely. You could see him really controlling that kart well as he was going into pylon there. So really controlled out there. So just to see the gaps as they're coming through. Finley Dunn moving up, of course, into 2nd now. That's being confirmed on the timing screen as the rest of the field go through. There's the 11 of Poppy Stevenson.
Oh, we've had a spinner there off of Stadium Bend, and that is the number 16. That's Ronnie Mansfield. That's given another place back to Dan Ginchard, who's now, by my reckoning, I think it's going to be 5th place.
Yes, I believe 5th place now.
And maybe not even that. It could even be 4th if he gets past Scott Sumpton. And these two were battling a bit earlier on, and Sumpton had the measure of Ginchard. And they are approximately, well, we're halfway through the race now, 5 minutes on the clock plus an additional lap. Ronnie Mansfield was about 2.5 tenths off of Scott Sumpton, who was actually last time around 3.5 seconds behind these two coming into shot right now, which is Finley Dunn in 2nd, Louis Weaver in 3rd. So Ginchard now has taken over 4 tenths out of Scott Sumpton.
He has indeed. So Ginchard, he is, as confirmed, he is in 5th place in the 54. It is Scott Sumpton next on the list, and you can see there as they're going through into the first hairpin. He's
got him. He's up into 4th now. So still got plenty of time left to go on this particular encounter.
So still got 8 seconds to close up to Alfie Brooks. That's a tall order with only 4 minutes to go around this tight and twisty circuit here at Rye House, and especially with Alfie Brooks setting a new fastest lap of the race, 43.469.
The times are really dropping. You can really see the amount of the damp on the track being sort of thrown aside by these Moto W3s. As there's a great little battle here. That's between Ronnie Mansfield and Poppy Stevenson. So Stevenson in 8th, Mansfield in 9th. So at the moment, with 3 minutes and 43 on the clock remaining, we've still got Brooks leading by 4.6 seconds. And I think even if Dan Ginchard gets onto the podium for where he started from, he's done a really, really good job to get up there. As we've got some great battles here. Now that is the 95 of Ryan Margolis battling away with Ronnie Mansfield and has got ahead of the 16. Just behind, in front of them is Poppy Stevenson in 8th, and 7th is Caitlin May in the 52.
Yep, so a good move there down the inside, signed, sealed and done. And 3 minutes left on the clock. It's another crucial position. Now Louis Weaver, he sets a new personal best. 6.38 seconds behind the race leader at the moment, only about 1 second shy of Finley Dunn in 2nd at the moment.
So at the meantime, Daniel Ginchard is taking time out of Louis Weaver. The gap was 2.4 seconds last time around, and he took over half a second. So Ginchard is closing. Oh, bit of tussling there between Ronnie Mansfield and Ryan Margolis, as Margolis now has to slot back into 10th position. So these two are battling away. This is going to allow Poppy Stevenson to pull away as Alfie Brooks comes across the line to start lap number 11. Puts in a 44.0 that time around. Best lap from him so far, 43.469. So Ryan Margolis now up into 9th place. Bryn Evans rounding out the 17-strong field. As Jack Brand in 6th place as Dan Ginchard loses a little bit of time to Louis Weaver. So whether the podium is now out of reach is anyone's guess, but only Dan Ginchard's, depending on how much he wants to push and move forward ahead of this. So effectively, Alfie Brooks is pretty much just cruising away. We're into the last 5th of this race, 2 minutes and 4 plus an additional lap left to go, but Finley Dunn closes up the gap as there's another cheeky move up the inside of that was actually,
I think,
oh no, that is disaster for Ronnie Mansfield. He looks like he might have a problem with the left front of that kart.
Yeah, it looked like it just got caught up in the front nose, and yeah, he had to straighten the wheel and had to take off the track.
So Alfie Brooks has a comfortable margin of around 4.2 seconds. Dan Ginchard, in the meantime, sets the fastest lap of the race. Nice spot there, Anthony. 0.566 quicker than Louis Weaver. He's got the gap down to just 2 seconds. But if he needs to take, I think, over the next 3 laps, if we have enough time for 3 laps, which we should do with the way that Alfie Brooks is motoring on at the minute, he's 4.2 seconds up the road from Finley Dunn. So Finley Dunn will take the vice championship status here this year. So Alfie Brooks comes across the line to start lap number 13 with 1 minute and 10 on the clock remaining. And so, yeah, I think we've probably got another 3 laps. It just depends. Ginchard has just taken another 0.3 of a second. He needs to have another, I think, 1.8 in the pocket. And that needs to be at least. He needs to do 2 laps of taking 0.8 out of Weaver and then have that final 0.3 to go at him and battle him for that position. And that could put him in 3rd place at the end of it all. We go into the last 45 seconds, plus an additional lap, as there's Finley Dunn muscling his way through pylon, avoiding the standing puddle on the inside of it.
Yep, that puddle still very prominent there at the exit of pylon, but look at this last section here, completely dry as these guys go through, but then you get back on the start-finish line and it's still soaking wet. Finley Dunn, new fastest lap of the race, 43.315, and Daniel Ginchard there retaliates with the 42.855, first in the 42s.
And takes, and the only 42 this weekend, nevertheless, he's only a second away from Louis Weaver. He is a second away from the podium. He obviously heard what I said then. And there's Weaver.
Yeah, you can see the gap. Yeah.
The gap is now coming down significantly. So Dan Ginchard really getting a motor on. It looks like he's coming alive now. Timer has now expired. That is it. So Dan Ginchard has the last few hundred meters plus an extra 950. As Alfie Brooks crosses the line to take the final lap board ahead of Finley Dunn, who's second at the moment.
So last lap time then for these guys. And Alfie Brooks leading comfortably by 2.948 seconds as they last cross the line. Here's the 95 and the 16. This is the battle further down, I think, or is it the 95?
That's 10th position, so
yes,
Ronnie Mansfield and Ryan Margolis as our leader. Alfie Brooks on the 57 makes his way towards pylon for the final time. Bumps the curbs on the left, avoids the standing order on the right, negotiates the exit nice and cleanly there. Now into the S's and into the right-hander at paddock, and he powers out of the corner. And for 2019, Alfie Brooks taps the right side pod because he knows he's just become the 2019 Rye House London Cup Junior Rotax champion. Finley Dunn takes second. 2.9 seconds off, actually, at the end of it, so nice work by those guys. Louis Weaver rounds out the podium. It was close, but no cigar for Dan Ginchard, who took 8.5 tenths out of Louis Weaver and came to within 6.5 tenths at the end of the race. Nice work by Dan Ginchard to fight his way up to the back part of the top part of the field. Scott Sumpton in 5th, Jack Brand in 6th, Caitlin May, Kyle Dunford, Bobby Stevenson, Ryan Margolis, Ronnie Mansfield, James Otto, Ben Boldo, Ben Ballou, Elis Humphreys, Lucas Ivaskevicius, Chloe Kanyasik, and Bryn Evans. Nice question here by Mahausen Shi 00. What do the colours mean? So when it's blue, it's a personal best in terms of the lap time. If it's purple, it's the fastest lap on anybody in that race. So the purple indicates the fastest driver out on the circuit. Blue is a personal best effort from the driver themselves. So Harry Friel gives congratulations to Alfie Brooks, who becomes our second of 5 champions for 2019. So, 2 finals down, 3 to go. Next up, it's the heavy hitters, the Rotax 177s. And we were having a nice chat in the lunch break, weren't we, about the difference between senior Rotax and Rotax 177. Well, these are for people that still like their racing kicks, but They're a little bit heavier than the senior Rotax contingent, so obviously there are minimum weight limits and obviously plateaus where you can't exceed them. So the drivers will have to meet the minimum weight requirements as per Rye House IKR regulations. So we have a grid, and it is as follows. Alfie Cockerel and Ben Cowley, that's the front row. Oliver Smith and Nathan Chafer, that's row 2. James Webb and Adam Sadler, row 3. Scott Clee, Jim Rainbird, Hugo Pereira and Aaron Timberlake ran out the top 10, and then completing the 19 strong, it's Max Williams, Richard Allison, Nick Skelton, Tim Darlow, Charlie Whaley, Sylvanus Klimas, Andrew Wilkins, Joe Hunt and Damien Evans. 10 minutes on the clock, ladies and gentlemen, plus an additional lap. So Cockerel and Cowley will control proceedings on the front row. The Rotax engines roar into life. Do we go lights out? It's a clean start from the Rotax 177 field as they all filter their way into stadium for the very first time of asking.
Yep, nice and clean, really close racing there, and the two breaking away in second place. That's a good start from him. That's Nathan Chafer there. So good start from him, moving up one position over the line.
So Cockerel seizes the initial advantage already, and it's getting very feisty, and there is a change for the lead. Looks to be that Ben Cowley is now up in front, and you can now see that these drivers, Anthony, are no longer wearing their wetsuits in some respects. Well, some still are, because they're still... Sylvanus Klimas gets a warning in 13th position for contact, as Alfie Cockerel is now joined by the number 22 of Ben Cowley. That's a three-line astern there, as Cockerel definitely be meeting a Chafer and Cowley sandwich going through stadium.
So, yeah, as you can see, Chafer breaking away there over that overtake that he had in the second hairpin. Now here comes the 33 in third place with the 53 just in front. So that's Oliver Smith in third now. Ben Cowley in second place. So these guys, or Cockerel, sorry, in second place, I should mention, as they go into pylon. Again, a little wide on the exit of pylon from Nathan Chafer, but managing to keep the two behind him of Cockerel and Cowley at bay at the moment.
So at the minute, Chafer leads. Fastest lap of the race from him so far on lap 1. We now complete lap number 2 here in the Rotax 177 London Cup finale. Oliver Smith is the quickest out of the top 4. Hugo Pereira has made some really good progress as well. The Portuguese driver now up into P6, as everyone's really scrabbling for grip, as Alfie Cockerel really having a great side-by-side battle with Ben Cowley.
Yeah, the 22 diving back to the outside there as the 53 switches it back. Is on the outside now into pylon. Can't quite do anything now to the 22 of Cowley. So 53 having to judge back there. Lost a couple of positions, hasn't he?
So James Webb really factoring in right now, and he's around about sort of... just keeping pace as Nathan Chafer goes across the start-finish line and goes quickest on a 43.427. Nick Skelton gets a personal best there, 46.401, currently down in 16th, ahead of Damien Evans. But the top 10 at the moment, Chafer leads, Smith in second, Cowley, Cockerel rounding out the top 4, Webb, Pereira, Sadler, Darlow, Whaley, and also Aaron Timberlake makes a reappearance from 13th to 10th, as James Webb really closing or keeping in close proximity with Alfie Cockerel. But we've got 7 minutes, 10 seconds, plus an additional lap still to go. There's a bit of sideways correction there from Nathan Chafer going through stadium, which has allowed Oliver Smith to nip up the inside. That's a great move there from the 33s. He gets through on Reg's elbow and manages to make it stick by the time they hit the infield hairpin, as Damien Evans again gets a personal best of a 44.008. Oliver Smith, in the meantime, is the fastest driver out on the circuit, 42.609, and it's side by side between the two leaders, but Smith definitely thinking, well, if you're going to go argy-bargy and elbows out, I'm going to give as good as you can get. So Smith retakes the lead now and will hopefully try and steal a march on the rest of them behind, as it's getting... And there's a contact warning, no surprise, for Chafer that time, as Smith also gets a contact warning. So the pair of them getting the argy-bargy and the elbows out is definitely... oh, no! Alfie Cockerel compromised there, and that was James Webb just in front. So
it's Chafer, actually. It's Chafer. He's all the way back there. You can see him. He's in 4th place now. He's lost a couple of positions through turn 1. So the number 2 of Chafer has lost 3 positions there.
He's down to P4, just behind James Webb in the number 3 is Cockerel really trying to size up. He knows this track very well, Alfie Cockerel does, so he's got real skills around here. Now, you can just see that very distinctive dry line, but the only thing that I have to ask is, and now we get a warning for Alfie Cockerel. It's all fair in racing and war, isn't it? But there'll be some certain times. We were talking about that window of opportunity where you can switch to slicks, and some drivers might have decided maybe to have thought, well, it's getting close, I could maybe chance it and do a bit of a Jensen Button.
Well, we were seeing those times, you were saying around if they hit the 40 seconds. We're close to that. We're at 42 at the moment. I know it's still 2 seconds off, and in karting, 2 seconds is a massive gap. But these guys, they've got to start thinking about it. If you want to win that championship, it's got to have to go for it.
And Alfie Cockerel is trying to start making his intention to becoming the 2019 London Cup champion. But at the moment, Oliver Smith still leads. Ben Cowley in second, James Webb in third, Nathan Chafer in fourth, Alfie Cockerel in fifth, with Hugo Pereira in sixth place. That's a really good effort. He's actually closing by about 4.5 tenths of a second on Alfie Cockerel. So Pereira could factor in to what could possibly be the overall victory. It's not about the points on the board that you have at the end of the weekend. It's who comes across the finish line first. It's basically, get yourself on the grid as high as possible. And Pereira's running in the 42.7s. Alfie Cockerel last, and because he's trying to get past those in front, he's struggling. So he's on a 43.2, so that's nigh on a half-second differential between 5th and 6th position, as Pereira just literally throws it through the S's as Cowley crosses the line again. But he's closing up on Oliver Smith, is Ben Cowley, to the tune of around half a second. Chafer, Cockerel, Pereira, Whaley now past Sadler for 7th. Darlow and Timberlake ran out the top 10 ahead of Klimas. Williams, Rainbird down in 13th. Wilkins, Hunt now in 15th ahead of Evans, Allison, Skelton and Klee. Looks like they have both decided to call it a day. So we're down to 17 runners and riders here.
Now you could see there on the start-finish line, Hugo Pereira last time around diving to the inside field to try and wet those tyres. Of course, when they're dry, they're superheating and chewing them up. And of course, you don't want them to go off, especially in the final, still with 4 minutes to go.
Exactly, because you want your weapons razor sharp. If everyone has ever seen Truth in 24-2, every second counts. And Tom Christensen said, well, if you want to change your tyres, you go in with your weapons razor sharp, because they were making a call about whether they changed one tyre or all 4. They changed all 4, they won the race. As Alfie Cockerel gets very feisty there, and was that Hugo Pereira just behind? I think that might have been, or wasn't it? No, it was James Webb in the 3. So Pereira trying to get a motor on, has got Charlie Whaley closing him down in the 9, in the bright red and white cart there.
We've got a dark cloud coming over to us, and I'm pretty sure I saw some specks of water on the camera lens, and I'm not sure if that rain is starting to come back down.
That could really spice up the last 2 finals, but we're in the halfway stage of this at the moment, with 2 minutes and 35 seconds remaining on the clock. Oliver Smith is leading by 1.227 seconds from Ben Cowley. Nathan Chafer rounding out the top 3. Alfie Cockerel in 4th. James Webb in 5th, and you can just see how much they've started to spread out a bit more now. It's become a bit more of a, I wouldn't call it procession, it's just sort of like follow the leader.
Yes.
Effectively. So Smith is paving the way. Cowley's following a couple of doors down, and then a further street down you've got Nathan Chafer, and then probably down into the next town you've got Alfie Cockerel.
Yeah, Charlie Whaley here in the number 9. He's just set a new personal best, but a new fastest lap of the day, I think. 42 dead from Nathan Chafer in 3rd place.
That's a pretty impressive result, and he was only just over 8 tenths of a second quicker than Ben Cowley. Well, 88 thousandths, my apologies there. Ben Cowley took nearly 4 tenths out of Oliver Smith. So could the rain... it's sort of... We're starting to show a dry line on the track according to the timing. Air temperature around about 12 degrees, but it is a bit colder than that because of the wind that is coming through, bringing the clouds over. Again, another fastest lap, and we've gone sub 42 for the first time in Rotax 177 this weekend. Nathan Chafer takes 6 tenths out of Ben Cowley, who in turn is trying to close up, and he's about 9.5 tenths behind Oliver Smith. So Nathan Chafer clearly on the move, and he's only 9 tenths behind, as Hugo Pereira is still battling away with Charlie Whaley, and that is for 6 on the road. So Pereira really accrediting himself well here. as Cockerel now is trying to catch up with Nathan Chafer. But it's not going to be enough. I mean, he's 8/10 off last time around. He's going to struggle again, obviously with this dry line showing. And as you were saying, it overheats the compounds on the rubber, and then, you know, it becomes from what are basically trimmed blocks for, you know, contact in the asphalt. It's effectively a case where it starts to sort of delaminates and sort of tear apart a little bit. So you're going to get rubber marbles on the track potentially. It'll rubber the circuit in, but it won't help those on the circuit whose tyres are quite literally expiring as they drive them.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? And 15 seconds left on the clock. The race leader is about to cross the start-finish line as we're looking at them here now, entering towards paddock corner. It's going to be close if this is going to be the last lap or not. Oh. They cross the line with 1 second, but the last lap board comes out, so it's going to be last lap this time.
But it's a battle at the front of the field. Oh, here we go. Grandstand finale for the third of 5 London Cup 2019 titles here at Rye House.
And well, I'm not sure if those drivers managed to see the last lap board because it would have come out as they went underneath it.
Oh,
but I definitely did.
Oh, Cowley definitely. I think he did see it. And here comes Nathan Chafer as well. Top 3, line astern through pylon for the final time. It could be a grandstand finale filled with fireworks around the final corner as they come through the S's for the final time. Round paddock being led by Oliver Smith. It's going to be down to the line. It's a run to the finish. Oliver Smith is the 2019 London Cup Rotax 177 champion. No, it was Ben Cowley. Ben Cowley took it. How did that happen?
So it's changed across the line. I'm not sure how it's happened because it was pretty certain who it was. But, yeah, the timing screen says the 22 Ben Cowley.
Well, I think I will disagree with the timing on that one. I think someone else will as well. That was definitely the 33 that crossed the line. If we could just have a replay, Mr. Director, for who the winner was, because we want to ratify it, because we've got this on YouTube live here at Rye House. So as far as the timing says, it's the 22 of Ben Cowley, but according to my eyesight,
it was the 22.
So he must have done it on the last lap. Must have had an issue.
It was the 22.
It was the 22. So Ben Cowley takes the win and becomes the champion for the London Cup at Rye House. So what happened to Oliver Smith? Did he drop a clanger down at paddock?
Well, we did see Ben Cowley dive down the inside at hairpin 2 just before pylon corner, didn't he? But then, of course, it got a bit touch and go around pylon, didn't it? But as you see there across the line, the 22 Ben Cowley takes it for this year.
So well done to Ben Cowley, the third of 5 champions. We have 2 more to crown. Obviously, all results called by myself and Nancy are provisional, pending any scrutineering and sporting matters. Obviously, there is no right of appeal at Rye House IKR regulation. So Ben Cowley becomes the 2019 Rotax 177 champion ahead of Oliver Smith. Nathan Chafer in 3rd place. Alfie Cockerel in 4th. James Webb, Charlie Whaley, Hugo Pereira, Aaron Timberlake, Tim Darlow, Sylvanus Klimas, rounding out the top 10 ahead of Max Williams, Andrew Wilkins, Joe Hunt, Damien Evans, Richard Allison, Adam Sadler, Jim Rainbird, finishing on lap 11, with Sadler finishing on lap 14. Nick Skelton retired on lap 4, with Scott Clee rounding out the 19 strong, but unfortunately retired on lap number 3. Right, our penultimate London Cup final of the weekend. So, Bambino Comas out on track, and your grid is as follows. Now, you've been really impressed by these guys. We'll go through the grid first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So, Henry Carter is on pole position ahead of Isaac Barker in the 53. Noah Baglin and Harley Musk, that's row 2, that's 17 and 21. The 6 of Luca Holmes-Balak, the number 18 of Max Endicott. Leo Anya in the 10, Ada Sexton in the 84, Teddy Porter in the 66, Sergio Wirtz in the 5, Rio Licata in the 9, and in the 19, Albert Friend rounds out the rounds out the whole grid. But Bambinos, you've been very impressed by them today, haven't you, Anthony?
I have, yeah. These guys are absolutely flying out there. Really, really good racing that we can see. Sticking to those racing lines and some really good overtakes that I've seen throughout the day.
One of which, I think, if I remember correctly, Henry Carter and Isaac Barker have been the standouts on that particular perspective. But now with the sunshine, there is blue skies up ahead, which is the first welcome sight to see despite the deluge of rainfall yesterday. Dark grey clouds, miserable weather, buffeting with the wind.
But this is going to bring another challenge to the drivers, and that's going to be glare off the water on the circuit.
Definitely the case, but you will definitely see that these drivers will be steely and filled with resolve. So, grid is cleared for the final time for the 2019 Rye House London Cup Bambino Coma finale here in Hoddesdon. So the red lights will go on the starting gantry, and we are off and away for the final time for the Bambinos. And, oh, Isaac Barker, you cheeky little scamp, trying to go up the inside to go round the outside of Henry Carter. As Harley Musk and Luca Holmes-Black battling it over 4th position. So at the minute, it looks like that we have Isaac Barker is probably down in 3rd place. Noah Baglin looks to be in 2nd. But leading at the moment is Henry Carter, as the sunlight is definitely coming into the commentary boxes.
Break out the sunglasses here, I think.
Yeah, bring out the aviators, my friend. So they come down the back straight away. This is really going to add a different dimension because of the tyres. But obviously with the Bambinos, they have a specific tyre in many respects as they come through pylon for the very first time of asking. All this contact and spinners into the water. One of which looks to be Teddy Porter again. He's been in the mire, unfortunately, as there's one driver that's definitely looking to capitalise. That could be, not too sure who that was, but Teddy Porter was one of those that spun there as Henry Carter continues to lead ahead of Noah Baglin. Isaac Barker rounds out the top 3. Let's have a replay here. Okay. Oh, clattering into pylon a bit too hefty there was Teddy Porter. And who was he behind? He probably looks to be maybe somebody like Leo Anya or Rio Licata was a bit further up the road, so Rio Licata is down in 9th position, being taken the B final win a bit earlier on. So Henry Carter is leading. Previous winners include Joseph Katsantonis, who's now under the Mark Blundell's partner stable.
Oh, and someone straight to the wall.
That is Harley Musk. Harley Musk heftily into the barrier, off of the outfield hairpin. Drivers need to avoid. So Marshall's rushing to the scene. I hope Harley's okay there. So bit of a hefty hit. The front went straight in. So the drivers come through and Musk just absolutely goes completely off the track. Don't know if there was an issue or if we just got caught out, but I think the young chap is a little bit winded there. Meanwhile, we go into the lead battle now as Noah Baglin definitely contesting with Henry Carter for the 2019 title. So as I was saying, Joseph Katsantonis, who's sponsored by Yanimais, of all people, would you believe? For the man that likes to wrap all the superstars' cars, doesn't he? Was in 2017. 2018, it was Jesse Phillips. And now Henry Carter definitely stating his case, but also Noah Baglin. You've also got to see there, Anthony, that the top 5 aren't that far apart, are they?
They're not, no. There's a good train of karts here as they go through pylon in towards Paddock Bend. 7.5 minutes remaining on the clock, so plenty of time to gain these few positions. But standings at the moment very close. Second between the top 4, 1.1 second between the top 5, and here they come into turn 1. And
the lead has changed now in the favour of Noah Baglin. Henry Carter might be overtaken, and he has been, by Isaac Barker. Luca Holmes-Black is now overtaken by Leo Anya in the number 10. It's the number 10 now putting his claim to potentially be at least on the podium. But maybe even try and go and gun for the win, because it's not about where you start, it's where you finish. There's a tussle between Barker and Carter, who exchange gesticulations there between the outfield and the infield hairpin. This is allowing Leah Anya to close up as Henry Carter gets a contact warning.
Stewart's very quick on that decision, and rightly so. I say with it being the A final, tensions can be quite high within, of course, the paddock and on the track as well, with the red mist descending between the drivers. But the drivers keeping their cool now as they get back onto the start-finish line. 6.5 minutes to go.
So Leaders, the top 5 pretty much line astern as Barker is still defending, and he's trying to go after Baglin at the same time. So Baglin leads going into stadium. Barker takes a wider line to keep those tyres a little bit cooler, as does Carter, Anya and Holmes Balak. The top 5, just over 1.3 seconds separate them at the moment as they head down towards the infield hairpin. 6 minutes on the clock. We're on to lap number 5 here as Barker trying to go for the lead. Can't make it through just yet, but might have a better run going through towards the outfield hairpin as Carter goes up the inside of Barker to retake second position as Anya goes a bit wide, and Holmes Black looking to pounce on the number 10 heading into pylon. Can't get through quite yet, so Henry Carter now back up into second and will now start to hunt down Noah Baglin as we have about 5 minutes and 43 seconds on the clock remaining.
Yeah, good stuff from these front runners at the moment. Hand signals from the side saying to tuck in to the wheel as a 17. But, of course, he's got to get his head up for turn 1. But Baglin, again, still leading the way in this race. Just over 5 minutes to go. There's the number 10 there in 4th place, Leo Anya there. But then it's Carter and Barker. They're the second and 3rd place at the moment, but all still separated by less than a second. And there's a spin. Oh, no, it's Henry Carter. Henry Carter under braking, spins at hairpin 1, and as you can imagine, is absolutely devastated with that.
But there still might be time. He still has about 4 minutes and 50 as the sun stops glaring into the commentary box position. So let's just have a look at the replay with Henry Carter just a second ago. So you can just see he just loses it under braking. The back end steps out and pitches in 180 degrees the wrong way on the inside of the infield hairpin. So he's going to be kicking himself, and that's dropped him down to what is now 6th position, as now the top 5 is occupied by the following people. But fastest lap at the moment is Ada Sexton in the 84. She's just been in a 54.089 and is starting to come alive a little bit more in the latter part of this race. So Baglin leads by over 5.5 tenths from Isaac Barker. Leo Anya rounds out the top 3 ahead of Luca Holmes Black and the ever fast chasing Ada Sexton, and they are 2.44 seconds adrift. As Anya goes very, very wide, and that allows Luca Holmes Balak to take 3rd position, but Ada Sexton clearly keeping them in the crosshairs at the moment. So, yeah, it was just quite interesting to look over that replay again and just see how Henry Carter just, was trying his best, and the limits of adhesion just sort of threw a curveball to him and put him out of the running for the title. But Noah Baglin, Anthony, is just really doing a good job, but Isaac Barker's really closing him down.
Yeah, all of the top 3 setting personal best at the moment, the fastest being the 3rd place driver of Luca Holmes there. So 3rd place trying to close in, but only 2 tenths last time they crossed the line between Barker and Baglin. So it could still be anyone's game. Still 3 minutes to go. Plenty of time, and they're side by side going into hairpin 2.
They are indeed, and there's a little bit further back, Ada Sexton closing up on Leo Anya for what is 4th. So we've got 180 seconds plus an additional lap. It's nearly a 3-way scrap for the lead as Anya and Sexton battling over 4th position. Baglin holding on in front of Barker and Luca Holmes Balak, who rounds out the top 3. Anya and Sexton need to, I think, maybe start working a little bit together. But this is where the drivers won't really know how to anticipate that. And some do, some don't, and some just think, well, I'm going to go for it, whatever happens. And Barker is putting a run on Baglin. We remember the outside line that he took on Stadium and did the great move on Henry Carter, who now sets another personal best of a 51.403 and takes over 8.5 tenths of a second out of Ada Sexton. So Carter coming back in the last 2.25 minutes as Barker trying to close down on Noah Baglin for the lead. It was 0.16 of a second between the top 2. Luca Holmes Black has got the ringside seat as Ada Sexton goes side by side with Leo Anya in the battle for 4th position. Anya gets slightly ahead and goes into pylon first.
Good stuff from the top 5 still. All still battling nice and clean. Less than 2 minutes on the clock now. We're just going to see who can take control of this race. It is still Noah Baglin leading the way as they cross the line. And the 72, you can see there, Henry Carter, so after that spin, is trying to catch up frantically. Personal best and a new fastest time as well from Ada Sexton as well in 5th place. Yep,
54.088. She's definitely putting on a show as Ada at the moment, showing that It's not just the boys that can have a little fun, it's also the girls as well. So she's really doing a great job and trying to battle tooth and nail with...
oh, no, the 6.
And that is Luca Holmes-Balak, and that has allowed the battle for third position. Noah Baglin's got past Isaac Barker to retake the lead of the race, but Ada Sexton and Leo Anya, that is the bottom part of the top 3. Well, Anya is clean and away. Henry Carter coming back like a driver possessed. The red mist is quite clearly behind the visor, as it wasn't just, if memory serves me correctly, that Luca Holmes-Balak spun out. It was also Ada Sexton at the same time, at the same corner. So let's have a look at the replay of this nice little move from Noah Baglin as he powered out of the corner and just slingshotted past Isaac Barker to retake the lead, as Barker had the measure of him on the inside of the infield hairpin. And Baglin just planted it, powered out of the corner. We're down into the last 35 seconds of this race. Barker not done by a long shot as the pair come down into the infield hairpin.
Yeah, Barker looking down the inside through turn 1. Couldn't get a move there as we head now into hairpin 2 as just before pylon corner. So again, any moves can still be done in these next couple of corners as that timer slowly runs out. They will receive the last lap board this time. They're not going to make another lap out of this. So last lap board will come out to Noah Baglin and Isaac Barker. And there's a good little scrap further back here. And that, of course, is the recovering Henry Carter at the front of it.
Yeah, with Ada Sexton and Luca Holmes-Balak, all three of them having had their own trials and tribulations in this final. But this time around, it's going to be Noah Baglin that will take the final lap board first. Isaac Barker sets a personal best, trying to close down. He's 3/10 away as Ada Sexton battling with Henry Carter for 4th position in the dying stages of this Bambino final for the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. So in the meantime, our leader, Noah Baglin, now coming through towards the outfield hairpin for the final time. And he's still got Barker chasing him down, as this is going to be the run down towards pylon for the last time. Baglin ahead, Barker in the 53 in second. They negotiate pylon for the final time. There's a clear dry line showing up there, and it's 3, 4 and 5. That's Anya, Carter and Sexton for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Looks like Anya might take 3rd position, but it's going to be a run to the line, isn't it? It's going to be a drag race, but Baglin's got a nose in front, and he takes the checkered flag, and he knows he's won it. He knows he's done the business. And 3 abreast in perfect formation for the last part of the top 5, but Noah Baglin becomes, after Jesse Phillips in 2018, Joseph Katsantonis in 2017, your 2019 Rye House London Cup Bambino Coma champion. And with that comes the prize of a 3-hour kart sim. And here they are just coming across the line. You can see that Isaac Barker's still being happy with second, but look at the jubilation from Noah Baglin in the 17.
Yeah, cracking race from those two. Super controlled, nice, clean overtakes, no daft lunges, and these guys clearly showing the seniors how it's done.
Exactly. These could be the stars of the future
Exactly
here in the Bambino class. So, rounding out the order, it was Noah Baglin that wins by 0.105 of a second. Leo Anya takes 3rd behind Isaac Barker, the vice champion for 2019. Henry Carter and Ada Sexton ran out the top 5 ahead of Luca Holmes-Balak, Rio Licata, Albert Friend, Sergio Wirtz, Teddy Porter, with Max Endicott retiring, unfortunately, on lap 3. And Harley Musk, with that hefty hit in the barrier, we hope that Harley's all okay. I'm sure he's just a little bit winded, the young fella, having ended his race on lap number 2. And Harry Friel says, what a great fight for first. Great race, well done, Noah Baglin. So, that is the penultimate race of the 2019 Rye House London Cup. Nice comment here from this particular person. I don't know how you pronounce their name. But
Nope, not going to try.
Not going to try, but that was a great race. Love the Bambino class. Well, they are our youngest competitors here, and it's great to have them on board with us. So, that's it for Bambino Comas. Closing out the action for the 2019 Rye House London Cup. London Cup with Screed Force Limited. It's Senior Rotax. Well, I'm just waiting for my colleague Anthony Jordan to come back up into the commentary box. But we have our closing race for the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited and Back in the Saddle. Anthony.
What have I missed?
Nothing, because they've just gone out onto the grid.
Excellent. Good.
So, the race 27 of the meeting, this is the final hurrah for 2019. So on the grid is as follows. Liam Ferguson in the 65 and Mike Spencer in the 48 alongside. Alfie Haralambus and Aaron Drury, that's row 2. Sean Berry and George Sanders, row 3. Philip Rawson, George Whitbread, row 4. And completing the top 10, it's Riley Stevenson and Simon Keeble. Thomas Storart and Hayden Cater, that's row 6. Tom Thompson, Will Keith, row 7. Sam Gambrell and Tom Sullivan, row 8. Kieran McCarney and Miles Nathaniel James, that's row 9. Lawrence Fedloff and Jack Richards ran out the top 20 with Joe Havisham, Harvey Hollick, Tom Richards, Pete Newman and Chris Calava, rounding out the 25 set to go into battle. Over 10 minutes plus an additional lap. Apologies for those that might be at the circuit. We've had to go to the live stream microphone. There's been a bit of a problem with the mic. It's been sort of phasing in and out of signal because it's normally over the other side of the circuit. However, we are here for the duration. So 2x2 rolling start formation to get the Senior Rotax London Cup final race of the weekend underway, but we're going to get another formation lap, I fear.
I believe so. And there's a crash in the background on the start as well. 2 go off into the barriers, and I can't see who it was, but I think that was just drivers thinking it was a go time. There's a 68 there.
68, that is Miles Nathaniel James and Kieran McCarney. 53 also involved, so that could put us down to 23 drivers, and that is a hefty hit. That should be a red flag.
I think the red flag has come out, yeah.
Okay, red flag has been called.
So it looks like both drivers are up and are okay, which is excellent to see. But as you can imagine, probably incredibly frustrated and disappointed at that. And they've kicked a lot of debris up onto the circuit as well.
Yeah, a lot of grass cutting. If it was on Jonathan Palmer's circuits, they would be getting a bill in the post.
Oh, yes.
But it's not easy with these kind of races where they're doing a 2x2 rolling start formation and everyone has been stopped on the Complex Nouvelle, just heading into the S's. So let's have a look at the start again. Okay, everyone knows it's another formation lap. You can see the 57 there. That's Sean Berry waving the finger around saying, okay, one more lap. And this is where it starts kicking off. I just need to, you can just see, and also going sideways is the 31. That's Jack Richards.
Sorry.
So Lawrence Sverdlov would have been on that row. That's the bottom part of the top 20.
I also saw the 13 as well getting out of shape, completely sideways.
Lawrence Sverdlov on the number 13, funnily enough, yeah, starting on P19. So that's going to bring us with a little bit of a delay. A real shame for 2 competitors that won't have a chance to compete for the London Cup title in 2019. A bit of a dramatic way to start the race because they all knew it was a full start. I'm not too sure if someone got caught unawares or the back end just stepped out. It can happen.
Well, it all depends. Are these guys running slicks?
That's exactly the thing I was thinking.
I think if they're on slicks and there was a damp patch on the edge of the circuit, because they're so bunched up and side by side, one was forced into a puddle, hit the power, lit up the rear tyres, and then absolutely sent it off on the side.
Right, let's have a look.
They are, yeah, slicks. Yeah.
So some were chancing it. Some were chancing it. They thought, you know what, with the Rotax 177s and the Bambinos, the way that they had been moving forward, and in terms of the cumulative lap times that were being aggregated over the course of the proceedings, 2 races, 20 minutes of track evolution, I thought, dry lines are showing. I might chance it. And 2 of them found out the hard way it was the wrong call, possibly.
Yeah, and of course, round the corners, the track has completely dried out. As we look at this shot here, this is just at the exit of Pylon before Paddock Bend, at the pit lane entrance. That track there is completely dry, barring puddles at the edge of the circuit. But the start-finish straight itself, there's a lot of, it's still damp across the main body of it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see that they're trailing row one of the carts there, which looks to be Miles Nathaniel James's cart. You can still see there's a lot of standing water. Well, it's sort of like ideas. You can just see. I mean, if we can just get an angle onto the start-finish straight where the marshalling team are now sweeping up the grass debris that's been spat out onto the circuit, you can still see that there is still some damp residue of the standing water puddles that we found on the start-finish straight. So it's probably when they, and then also you've got the painted lines. Those are still going to be slick as anything, like skating on an ice rink. So you're going to find that they'll boot the power down, and they thought, well, okay, I've got to accelerate. Oh no, not what I wanted. Lawrence Sverdlov and a few others got compromised, and it just took out Mecanium and Nathaniel James, who obviously wanted to have a chance at competing for. So that eliminates 2 karts, which puts us down to 23 runners and riders. So we've got a little bit of a delay whilst they do the clean-up. Marshalling team here at Rye House always doing a fantastic job, and a big thank you to them for expediting things very, very quickly and in shipshape and Bristol fashion. But it's going to be an interesting one. We've got some great competitors out there. We've got Mike Spencer, the old warhorse, ready to go into battle with a young crowd, and I think he could put the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Drivers start to take their seats now, so it looks like we're going to get going again for a restart. Now, of course, after this happening, I'm sure these drivers are going to be taking extra caution now at the start, even though they're going to want to break away.
I think if they get another rolling, because they'll go onto a full rolling start formation. So in terms of the starting order, it will be Liam Ferguson, Alfie Haralambus. Well, the thing is that the clock has started in some ways showing them all across, but what we'll do is we'll get the racing action underway. I'm not going to worry about a grid because, simply put, if you've got some popcorn and a beer and you're sitting at home watching the TV, watching this live stream, you will be entertained. And my voice might start to sound a bit gravelly now, Anthony, but that's the pitfall of being a commentator, isn't it?
Yes, you commentated a long time. I commentated for 6 hours yesterday. My voice after the last couple of hours was non-existent.
Exactly.
So, it happens.
And
Plenty of fluids.
Yeah, well, I've had 3 bottles of fluids, and obviously people might say, oh, it sounds a bit gravelly, Alex. I said, well, yeah, but normally at the points when I need to be vocal, it happens. And you know on that when we worked on the C1 24 hours. So they go into the 2x2 rolling start formation. Nice and tidy this time around. We go racing for the final time in the 2019 London Cup. And already the lead. Oh, contact at the front of the field. And that involved Ferguson. Who was the other involved? That could have been Mike Spencer, I think. Not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure it was Mike Spencer, yeah.
Yes.
I think they got a little bit tangled up, and the 65 for Ferguson went over the top of the back of Spencer as well.
And there's yellow flags being waved. And that is off the exit of Reg's elbow. But Mike Spencer, the old warhorse, struck very, very firmly alongside Liam Ferguson. So straight away, Spencer gets into the lead of the race on lap 1. Haralambus, Sanders, Drury, Berry, Rawson, Whitbread, Cater, Keeble, Storar, Stevenson, Keith, Gumbrell. And also Tom Sullivan is the driver not racing. He's out of this race, so we're down to 22. If Tom Richards can keep on circulating, as Alfie Haralambus now is charging at Mike Spencer.
Oh, no!
And Haralambus into the wall. Oh.
And the reason that happened, Mike Spencer got very loose under braking. If we've got a replay of it, I'd love to see it. But you could see the Spencer, and there's another victim there at pylon. 2 more victims, the 61 spins as well. But he got loose, and that massively distracted Haralambus, and it caused him to go into the puddle there at pylon, and it's a huge disaster.
That's really big, big things happening. That's shaken up the order yet again. So Spencer, let's have a look at this. Spencer goes sideways, drifts. body language, and that kart was grabbing on the rear axle.
Yeah, definitely so. Back with the action, though. The gap between first and second is as close as ever. Half a second between those two as we're looking at the battle.
No, I think Sanders has taken the lead. Has Sanders got the lead? Not quite, but they're running in the 39.5s. Mike Spencer absolutely setting the timesheets on light purple. Sanders is in second. Aaron Drury now in third place. Haralambous in fourth. Cater now in fifth. And Cater's only 4.9 seconds off of the leaders.
As you can see there, going through paddock again. And those conditions after that incident has kicked up a load of water onto the circuit, and that's making it very hazardous around that pylon corner now.
So Aaron Drury now trying to close up on George Sanders a little bit further down the order. Let's have a look at the start again. So Spencer and the 65 wrestling away there.
Liam Ferguson.
Mechanical black flag for Jack Richards. You can just see Spencer goes for the gap.
Yep.
There's not enough room. He's got nowhere else to go, and it sends the 65 of Liam Ferguson spinning, and that rear axle very forlorn as a result of that. But now Spencer has got a lead of over 1.3 seconds ahead of George Sanders. Aaron Drury trying to chase him down at the moment for second. Alfie Haralambous and Hayden Cater a little bit further afield. Cater now dropping well off Alfie Haralambous to the tune of around 2.3 seconds. George Whitbread, Philip Rawson, Thomas Starrar, Sean Berry and Riley Stevenson in the 87 rounds out the top 10. And Spencer just is keeping, well, he's been trying to keep his nose clean. But that was a very difficult move. I mean, he went for the gap, and as the late Ayrton Senator Silva said, if you don't go for a gap, you are not a racing driver. Mike Spencer is a racing driver, and here is the change. Looks to be for second position as Aaron Drury goes up the inside to take second away from the 51 of George Sanders. 5 minutes and 21 seconds plus an additional lap left to go in the 2019 Rye House London Cup, brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited.
Yep, that's a good, clean overtake through that last sector. Personal best for the second, third and fourth drivers as they start to now make trying to close that gap up to Mike Spencer. The gap was 2.726 last time round. These guys hopefully are going to start working together to try and close that.
They are not. They are squabbling like two little children
of course.
After the last dessert of the restaurant. It's still side by side. Look at this. This is brilliant racing between Drury and Sanders. Nice and controlled and composed. And this is allowing Mike Spencer, well, if he gets a 5-second post-race penalty for a front fairing issue, he's done that up to 3 seconds.
He is indeed. So let's see what we've got on this one. The gap has opened up again slightly. Contact warning for Tom Thompson on the 32. And that's quite further down the field in 11th place at the moment. Well, actually in 10th place. So that may be the reason why he's got 10th.
And probably on a move on up the inside of Sam Gumbrell, who's now down in 11th in the 37. Harvey Hoddick up into 12th place now. Great work from the 2019 Rye House IKR Senior Rotax champion. So he was the first of the 4 qualifiers in the B final. He's making some steady progress. It's not going to be enough for him in terms of time. I mean, if you had 12 minutes, it might give him a fair crack at the whip. But in the meantime, Aaron Drury's just set his best lap of the race, whereas Mike Spencer is clocking out. He's definitely the first one to the clocking station, trying to get out of work quickly than anybody else, and he's 3.285 seconds up the road from Aaron Drury, and trying to comfortably extend the gap. Drury's just put in his personal best as up the inside there. That's a great move for position. That's Philip Rawson going up the inside of George Whitbread for 6th place through the outfield hairpin, as Cater getting really feisty behind Haralambous now for what is 4th position. So the defending London Cup champion under the cosh, 3 minutes 20 plus an additional lap left to go, and it is quite literally 3.5 tenths between Cater in 5th, Haralambous in 4th, with Sanders in 3rd. Drury now sets the fastest lap of the race and takes 0.2 of a second out of Mike Spencer. Spencer still running in the 37.6s. His best is a 37.625, but Aaron Drury's just put in a 37.405 on that last lap, and that's impressive pace. He wants to try and close down. He's got just under 3 minutes to do it, Anthony. Can he do it? Is the big question.
Well, it's a tough call, isn't it? So not a lot of time, of course, but these karts going around at such an extensive pace now. Anything could be possible, of course. So Drury and Spencer running at the front. First and second contact warning for Will Keith in the 19 kart. He's down in 14th place at the moment, 23 seconds behind the race leader. 2.5 minutes to go as we look at this. Oh, and there's contact here, the 97 involved, and that is Aaron Dury. Dury, second place, is out.
Drury is out of the running. That's a real disaster, and that looks to be maybe the 24. Oh, no, not the calamity that is Chris Calava. If we can have a look at that replay, because I just want to sort of see what happened.
It was kind of the back end of it.
Well, Calava was a back marker,
there it is.
and he's just got in the way of Aaron Drury, and Drury has just sort of had been thrown a curveball, and this has given a proper gain for Mike Spencer, of all people. He's got a lead of 4.852 seconds over George Sanders, as Alfie Haralambus and Hayden Cater are now taking chunks of time out of each other and also out of those in front. So Mike Spencer now is going to complete very shortly lap number 13. We've got just over 90 minutes to go as Cater is being closed on by Philip Rawson. Rawson sensing a podium here. This is for the final step on the rostrum. Haralambus has that prime opportunity to be on the podium for the second season in succession, but Cater, Rawson really going hammer and tongs, and he set the fastest lap of the race at 37.027, and he took nearly 3/10 out of Hayden Cater. I think Philip Rawson is clearly the danger man for the final step on the podium with 1 minute and 11 seconds on the clock remaining plus an additional lap.
Yeah, the 29 looking very strong there at the back of this group of three as they dive into pylon corner again for the 13th time. 13 laps completed so far, as you say, with 1 minute, 1 lap remaining as these guys now head round paddock, and they're asked to slow down. There's yellow flags and we're not sure what's happened. Who's at the 40?
Oh, that is the 40 of Thomas Starrar there. No, who's had a mechanical there. So that's a shame for him running up in terms of that. But obviously the tail, obviously looking back at that replay that we saw between Chris Calava and Aaron Drury. Drury, I think, just got caught up as Tom Thompson sets the fastest lap of the race and goes sub 37. 36.957 as we go into the last 30 seconds. And it is game on. Alfie Haralambus has now started to pull away as both Rawson, who's now overtaken Cater. Cater going back up the inside of the 29 as they go side by side, heading into the S's, but the 29 fractionally ahead thus far. As the leader now comes through, that is Mike Spencer, who has a whopping 5.746 second lead. As we go into the last 10 seconds of the race meeting and of the 2019 Rye House London Cup. Cater, what a cheeky little move, but Rawson compromised himself by going through the standing water off of Reggie's elbow. That puts him out of 4th, down into 5th place. As looks like very shortly, time's expired. This is going to be the final lap of the race when Mike Spencer crosses the finish line, which he does now. 950 metres for the 48 of Mike Spencer to negotiate his lead now. As Sanders crosses the line, 5.681 seconds. Haralambus, Cater, Rawson. That's your top 5.
Doing a great job so far, but as you say, last lap time for Mike Spencer, 16 laps completed. He's only got a few hundred metres to go before he can potentially be crowned 2019 London Cup champion.
So he's coming round into the final corner. Couple of corners is Mike Spencer. Round paddock he comes. Mike Spencer does the Sebastian Vettel, taps the side pod and knows that he has got the 2019 Rye House London Cup title in senior Rotax in the bag as one of the marshals looks to assist somebody else. Philip Rawson, in the meantime, set the fastest lap of the race, and that is the 24. That is Chris Calava having a calamity of a last lap, which put him out of the running. Oh, that's not what you want. Oh, Chris, just take it easy, mate. We know you want to get the car back on circuit, but nearly getting jumped on by your own kart is not what you want as he refires the engine up. But Mike Spencer, provisionally speaking, becomes the 2019 Rye House London Cup Senior Rotax champion as they're checking for front fairings there, as is mandatory within Rotax racing circles. Spencer takes the win provisionally ahead of George Sanders. Alfie Haralambus, no. Chris Calava has got a very wobbly rear axle. The left rear is absolutely vibrating. That tyre could come asunder any second, wouldn't you say, Anthony?
Oh, definitely so. That's not how you want to go around. I'm sure that's quite an uncomfortable ride he's got there.
That's the Latino version of the Senior Rotax, isn't it? Yeah, forget Ricky Martin. Definitely, but that's going to be a few fix-me-ups in the winter season.
Yes.
But with regards to the finishing order, Mike Spencer, provisionally speaking, becomes the 2019 Rye House London Cup champion in senior Rotax. Let's just have one more look at the 48 crossing the start-finish line, because I've known Mike for a couple of years now, and he's a good old boy, and I'm really happy to see him at the start, you know, at the top step. So let's have a look at this replay, shall we? Let's see Mike coming across the line. And this was a joy for me. It put a smile on my face pretty magnanimously, and he does the Sebastian Vettel coming across the start-finish line and taps the old side pod on the number 48. So Mike Spencer wins the Senior Rotax London Cup title, provisionally speaking, 5 seconds ahead of George Sanders. Alfie Haralambos in third, making it 2 successive visits to the number 11 in the podium. And here is Mike Spencer celebrating with the Sebastian Vettel finger, 1 in the air. Hayden Cater rounds out the top 4 ahead of Philip Rawson, George Whitbread, Sean Berry, Tom Thompson, Harvey Hollick. Finishes 9th, coming back up the order from about a 22nd position. Riley Stevenson rounds out the top 10 ahead of Aaron Drury. Pete Newman, Sam Gambrell, Will Keith. Lawrence Sverdlov finishing in the top 15. Then also you had Tom Richards, Joe Habishan, Chris Calava with the Latino Senior Rotax edition, trying to vibrate its way back to the pit lane in 18th, ahead of Thomas Starrar, who finished his race on lap 13 after that incident. Jack Richards, his race ended on lap number 6. Simon Keeble and Liam Ferguson ended their races as on lap number 3, with Tom Sullivan not making it past the first couple of corners, ending his race and his London Cup campaign at Regis Elbow. So, Anthony, what a way to conclude. Oh, it's been a fantastic race meeting, wouldn't you say?
It has indeed, and I've well done to yourself. You've been going all day. I say I jumped on the last possible moment there, didn't I? So I've had it quite easy, me. But after a busy day yesterday, I'm quite glad that it was an easy day for me today. So, but no, what racing that we've seen from all classes here at Rye House for the London Cup for 2019, and yeah, it would be fantastic to see these guys carrying on in their careers.
Well, before I sign off officially for us all here at Rye House, one final comment from socials has to go to Harry Friel. Well done, everyone. Had a great day watching from my sofa in the dry. Thumbs up. Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much to everyone at Rye House Kart Raceway, the marshalling team, the catering staff, the whole team here as well that organised this event year in, year out. 5 new champions for the Roll of Honour for the Rye House London Cup, which this year was brought to you in association with Screed Force Limited. A big thank you to Alpha Live for providing the fantastic coverage all the way through the weekend with Tom, our director, James Fitchie, one of the directors of Alpha Live, Greg and the rest of the team, the camera crew that have been braving the conditions. So we have 5 new champions for London Cup history as the circuit quickly gets ever closer to its 50th anniversary in 60th anniversary in 2021. So on behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and my co-commentator this afternoon, Anthony Jordan, it's goodbye from what looks to be a very drying Rye House Kart Raceway. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the official Alpha Live YouTube channel, and maybe you might be seeing what Alpha Live bring to the internet in terms of streaming wherever we are, whether it's nationally or internationally. Thank you for tuning in, and it's good night and goodbye. Have a great Sunday evening. See you next time. Thanks for watching.